Chapter 3399. Seeing Lin Feng's calm look, Wu Moya's face turned extremely ugly. Facing a powerful expert like him, Lin Feng didn't seem to care at all. What did this mean? Was he looking down on Wu Moya? Thinking of this, Wu Moya's killing intent towards Lin Feng became even stronger. Have you thought about how you're going to die? Wu Moya looked coldly at Lin Feng and said. Lin Feng said indifferently, a mere first heaven of the Imperial Emperor realm dares to find trouble with me. I think you're tired of living. Brat, you're really arrogant. When you're suppressed by me later, let's see if you're still as stubborn as you are now. As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Moya rushed towards Lin Feng. The magic treasure in his hand was an emperor-level treasure sword. It was extremely powerful. Sacred sword, immortal slaying art. Wu Moya shouted coldly. Then, a sword slashed towards Lin Feng. Endless holy light condensed and formed. The holy light was dazzling. It was incomparably gorgeous. Amidst the boundless sacred light, the Emperor's sword slashed out a terrifying sword gleam. Whoosh! The sword light quickly slashed towards Lin Feng. It instantly tore through the void. It came to Lin Feng's side. The dazzling sword light directly slashed down. It was as if it wanted to split Lin Feng in half. Humph! Lin Feng couldn't help but snort coldly. He flicked his finger. A clang was heard. Lin Feng collided with the sword chi that was slashing towards him. In an instant, the terrifying sword chi that was slashing towards him, it was instantly destroyed by Lin Feng. Seeing this scene, Wu Moya's expression changed drastically. Although he knew that Lin Feng's cultivation was extremely tyrannical, Wu Moya never thought that Lin Feng would be so powerful. It was really unbelievable. He was so young. It was actually able to withstand the attack of an imperial monarch. Furthermore, it was still quite easy to break his attack. This kind of shock was simply unimaginable. An imperial emperor's cultivation base is already considered pretty good, but compared to me, there's still a huge gap, Lin Feng said indifferently. His figure flashed, instantly arriving in front of Wu Moya. Then, he threw a punch at Wu Moya. Lin Feng's punch was the ancestral dragon fist. It was the supreme divine ability passed down by the third ancestral dragon. In fact, only the dragon clan could unleash the full power of this mystic ability. Of course, Lin Feng was not a dragon. However, the ancestral dragon fist itself was too terrifying. Therefore, Lin Feng used this divine ability. The ancestral dragon fist also displayed enough power. After Wu Moya felt the terrifying power of Lin Feng's punch, he didn't dare to hesitate. He hurriedly stabbed his sword towards Lin Feng. Buzz! That terrifying sword instantly locked onto Lin Feng. Clang! Lin Feng's fist collided with Wu Moya's emperor sword. Lin Feng's fist was surrounded by the ancestral dragon aura. This ancestral dragon aura was extremely powerful. It directly broke Wu Moya's sword chi. That tyrannical fist force directly landed on Wu Moya's body. Wu Moya felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His body flew backwards. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood in midair. Lin Feng had absorbed a great Imperial Emperor-level devouring godly demons Imperial Law. 10 divine Emperor-level food god demon Emperor Laws. Wu Moya, a cultivator who had just entered the Imperial Emperor realm, was naturally no match for Lin Feng. Unless it was those high-level Imperial Emperor realm experts. Only then would they be able to defeat Lin Feng. After Lin Feng repelled Wu Moya, he quickly flew towards Wu Moya. Then, he directly pressed down on Wu Moya with his large hand. Monstrous magic power condensed and formed. It was as if it could destroy the world. Its power was so strong that it moved people. Wu Moya wanted to resist, but it was difficult for him to resist Lin Feng's suppression. His body was almost unable to move. Cultivating to the Imperial Emperor realm is already an overlord of the universe. It's such a pity to kill you. On account of the goodness of the heavens, if you swear to acknowledge me as your master, I can spare your life. Lin Feng looked down at Wu Moya. The current Lin Feng was like an immortal ancient immortal. Every move, it gave people an unimaginable sense of oppression. Don't even think about it. I'd rather die. I won't become your slave either. Wu Moya gritted his teeth and said, in the world of cultivators, There was naturally no lack of people who were afraid of death. But there were also many cultivators who were very unyielding. They would rather die than be manipulated by others. Wu Moya was obviously such a person. Lin Feng sneered and said, "Even if you want to die, I won't let you die. In this star field, there are currently no forces that belong to me. I see that your cultivation is not bad, so I'll convert you into my slave. Then, I'll accumulate strength and recruit experts. Maybe one day, I'll be able to use you." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Feng directly used the incomparably tyrannical Great Purification art. This 3,000 Great Tao directly converted the craftsman into a slave. Once he was converted, he would definitely be loyal and devoted. He would definitely not be disloyal, even if Lin Feng wanted him to die. When the time came, he would commit suicide without hesitation. This was the terror of the Great Purification art. The power of purification condensed and poured into Wu Moya's head. "No, I don't want to be purified. I don't want to become a slave. Brat, die with me." Wu Moya couldn't help but roar. Following that, his body began to swell. Wu Moya actually wanted to self-destruct. The self-destruction of an Emperor Realm expert was naturally no small matter. However, Lin Feng didn't give Wu Moya the chance to self-destruct. Seeing that Wu Moya wanted to self-destruct, Lin Feng flicked his finger. One rune after another wrapped around Wu Moya's body. Immediately, Wu Moya's mana was sealed. Wu Moya couldn't self-destruct even if he wanted to. At this moment, a large amount of the power of purification had already poured into Wu Moya's soul. This was the first time Lin Feng had purified an Emperor Realm expert, and the first thing he did was to purify an Emperor Realm expert. However, Lin Feng wasn't nervous at all. Purifying an Emperor Realm expert was exactly the same as purifying an ordinary cultivator. The only difference was that purifying an Emperor Realm cultivator was much more difficult than purifying an ordinary cultivator. An hour later, Wu Moya finally couldn't resist Lin Feng's purification. His ferocious eyes gradually calmed down. Soon, 15 minutes passed. Wu Moya's body had an additional aura of bemoaning the state of the universe and pitying the fate of mankind. "Umeba, good. Thank you, Lin Gongzi, for helping me cross the sea of bitterness." Wu Moya pressed his palms together in an incomparably pious manner. "Ha, fellow Taoist Wu is too polite. I am very gratified to see fellow Taoist Wu return from the wrong path." Chapter 3400. After edifying an Emperor-level expert, Lin Feng was in a very good mood. After instructing Wu Moya on some things that he needed to do over the years, he let Wu Moya return to the Fire Snake Star. Lin Feng also left this place. He planned to go into seclusion again, to refine the 3,000 Great Tao that he had just obtained. Just like before, Lin Feng found a lonely planet and entered the center of the planet. He began his seclusion. This time, Lin Feng would probably spend even more time in seclusion. After all, comprehending the 3,000 Great Tao, it would take time. Time passed day by day. 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, 18 years, 20 years. This time, Lin Feng spent 20 years comprehending 1,200 types of 3,000 Great Tao. When he came out of seclusion, the light of calamity between Lin Feng's brows could no longer be suppressed. However, Lin Feng relied on the power of the Emperor Law to suppress the light of calamity between his brows. Lin Feng couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. After refining the Emperor Law, his talent had also increased greatly. Therefore, Lin Feng could refine more 3,000 Great Tao. If he hadn't refined the Emperor Law, Lin Feng felt that refining 1,500 to 600 types of 3,000 Great Tao might have been his body's limit. At that time, even if he didn't want to break through to the Emperor Realm, he had to break through to the Emperor Realm, because once his body reached its limit, the light of calamity could no longer be suppressed. Once the light of calamity could no longer be suppressed, it would attract the lightning tribulation above the 9 heavens. Therefore, at that time, Lin Feng had no choice but to transcend the tribulation and become an emperor. However, after refining the Emperor Law, His body's condition had been improved by the Emperor Law. His talent had increased greatly. Lin Feng could also refine more 3,000 Great Dao. For Lin Feng, this was naturally a good thing. Although Lin Feng was still at the peak of the quasi-emperor realm, however, Lin Feng knew his battle prowess had increased by many times. After Lin Feng came out of seclusion, he continued to follow the ancient path and flew towards the undying realm. Along the way, he encountered many cultivators. After asking around carefully, he found out, not long ago, more than a dozen Emperor Sect-level experts besieged a God-Eater demon expert. Although that God-eating demon expert was only at the peak Emperor realm, but his combat strength was extremely heaven-defying. Under the siege of more than a dozen Emperor Sect experts, he didn't die. He was only injured and managed to escape. Currently, many cultivators were searching for the whereabouts of the culinary god. If he could find the whereabouts of the culinary god, he would be able to report this news to the major factions. At that time, the various great Emperor demon expert a demon expert. Thus, many cultivators in the Star World were searching for the whereabouts of the culinary god demon. However, it was not an easy task to find him. God demons to God. Moreover, culinary god demons were very good at disguising themselves. Even if an ordinary person saw a god-eating demon expert, they might not be able to recognize him. God-eating demons were similar to the heavenly demons. They were proficient in disguise and confusion. If a peak Emperor Realm God-eating demon expert is injured, his combat strength will definitely decrease greatly. If I can find this God-eating demon expert, I might be able to kill him. Lin Feng couldn't help but think. Lin Feng had obtained a lot of benefits from refining a few Tin Sounds fruits. Therefore, Lin Feng was very eager to find the God-eating demon expert and kill him. When the time came, Lin Feng would be able to obtain the God-eating fruit that the God-eating demon had turned into. Every time Lin Feng refined a God-eating fruit, he would be able to obtain an Emperor Law of the God-eating demon. How many Emperor Laws would a peak Imperial Emperor-level culinary God fruit have? Thinking about it, Lin Feng felt extremely excited. Lin Feng also began to search for the whereabouts of the God-eating demon in this star field. Many cultivators quickly flew towards the various planets in the star field. Then, they searched for the God-eating demon's whereabouts. Lin Feng also searched a few planets, but he didn't find any clues. He asked the other cultivators if they had found the gluttonous god demon's whereabouts. However, no one could find the gluttonous god demon. The injured god-eating demon seemed to have evaporated into thin air. Lin Feng used the innate 8 trigrams to deduce the whereabouts of the god-eating demon. It was very difficult to deduce the whereabouts of the god-eating demon. This was because the god-eating demon was very powerful and knew how to hide his presence. He also knew how to hide from the heavenly secrets. Therefore, Lin Feng's several divinations ended in failure. Until a certain day a month later, Lin Feng actually managed to deduce the whereabouts of the god-eating demon. He quickly flew in the direction he deduced. In the end, Lin Feng saw a planet shrouded in endless death energy. Quite a few cultivators had found this place. When the cultivators looked at this planet, they also felt that this planet was extremely extraordinary. It was a good place to hide. And so, many cultivators entered this planet to find the whereabouts of the god-eating demon. It should be here. Looking at this planet shrouded in death energy, Lin Feng couldn't help but say. He quickly flew towards this planet. Soon, Lin Feng landed on the planet. This planet was shrouded in death energy. Wandering spirits and ghosts could be seen everywhere. The cultivators who landed on the planet scattered to look for the god-eating demon. Lin Feng also began to look for the god-eating demon on this planet. But after searching for a long time, he still didn't find any clues. And Lin Feng also noticed something. In the beginning, he would often see traces of cultivators. However, recently, he didn't see any cultivators. Something's not right. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. This strange situation attracted his attention. Something was clearly wrong. Lin Feng couldn't help but think of a certain possibility. Could it be that the god-eating demon made a move? 2 hours later, Lin Feng suddenly heard a scream from afar. Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. He hadn't seen any other cultivators for about 3 days. Now, he finally heard the voices of other cultivators. Lin Feng quickly flew towards the source of the sound. When he arrived, Lin Feng saw a cultivator lying on the ground. The cultivator was covered in blood. He was lying on the ground, unmoving. But Lin Feng was shocked to find that the cultivator wasn't dead. There was still an extremely weak aura. Lin Feng was about to quickly go over to check when the demon lord reminded him. Use the heavenly demon Snake Eye. The god-eating demon is extremely cunning. It's not normal for him to suddenly appear at this time. Hearing that, Lin Feng nodded and opened the heavenly demon Snake Eye. The heavenly demon Snake Eye was the eye of origin. It could see through all illusions. When Lin Feng saw the dying cultivator, he was shocked. Chapter 3401. If it wasn't for the demon lord's warning, Lin Feng wouldn't even have noticed that this cultivator was actually a man-eating demon. Man-eating demons were indeed extremely cunning. This man-eating demon had transformed into a heavily injured and dying cultivator in order to attract his attention. Then, he let his guard down. When he went over to check on his condition, this man-eating demon would probably instantly explode. Then, he would use his most powerful attack and launch a sudden attack on Lin Feng. Under such circumstances, Lin Feng might really fall into this man-eating demon's trap. Fortunately, Lin Feng had seen through this man-eating demon's scheme. Thus, Lin Feng wasn't worried about falling into this man-eating demon's trap. Lin Feng planned to beat this man-eating demon at his own game. Didn't this man-eating demon want to trick him? Lin Feng planned to pretend that he didn't know anything. Then, he approached this man-eating demon. When Lin Feng arrived next to this man-eating demon, Lin Feng unleashed a thunderous attack. Then, he attacked this man-eating demon. Lin Feng might even be able to kill this man-eating demon. Lin Feng had already established communication with several treasures. He quickly ran toward the man-eating demon. As he ran, he shouted, "Fellow Taoist, are you all right? What happened just now? What injured you? Idiot, if you come any closer, I'll immediately kill you." The man-eating demon couldn't help but laugh coldly. Naturally, he couldn't answer Lin Feng's questions right now. Moreover, this man-eating demon wanted to disguise himself as well. Thus, he didn't even dare to release his divine sense. Lin Feng guessed that most of the cultivators who entered this place had already been killed by this man-eating demon. The reason he hadn't attacked Lin Feng was probably because this man-eating demon sensed that Lin Feng wasn't easy to deal with. Therefore, the gluttonous god-fiend decided to attack him after killing everyone else. There was a high probability of this happening. Moreover, this man-eating demon wanted to deal with Lin Feng. He didn't even hesitate to use his schemes against Lin Feng. When Lin Feng arrived 3 meters away from the man-eating demon, Lin Feng's divine sense moved. Instantly, Black Dragon's sword, along with the 3 stone swords, they all flew towards the culinary god demon. It was a short-distance fight. Naturally, sword-type magic treasures were the most lethal. The power of the 4 swords was incomparably powerful. They instantly arrived beside the gluttonous god demon. Then, he charged toward the culinary god demon. "Brat, how dare you trick me?" The culinary god demon couldn't help but roar in anger. Originally, he wanted to scheme against Lin Feng. Who would have thought that Lin Feng would see through it, and he would be played by Lin Feng instead? The culinary god demon quickly got up and dodged the attacks of the 4 swords. But the distance was too close. The gluttonous god demon was only able to block the Black Dragon sword's attack. The other 3 stone swords struck the culinary god demon directly. Poochie, poochie, poochie. Tearing sounds could be heard one after another. 3 bone-deep wounds appeared on the culinary god demon's body. Ah! The gluttonous god demon couldn't help but scream. The injuries caused by the stone sword were not as simple as 3 wounds. The sword chi from the stone sword would directly enter the culinary god demon's body. Then, it would cause great damage to the culinary god demon's internal organs. That was the most terrifying part. Therefore, the damage of the stone sword was extremely powerful. Now, the culinary god demon was injured by the stone sword. He was already severely injured when he was surrounded by more than 10 emperor-level experts. His previous injuries hadn't healed yet, and now, he was injured by the stone sword. Now, he was even more injured. The situation was extremely bad. Brat, how dare you injure me so badly? You deserve to die. You deserve to die 10,000 times. The culinary god demon was very extraordinary. After being injured by the stone sword, he quickly retreated. After putting some distance between them, he looked at Lin Feng with a chilling gaze. It was a gaze of unforgettable hatred. He couldn't wait to cut Lin Feng into pieces. Seeing the chilling gaze on the culinary god demon's face, Lin Feng couldn't help but sneer. How dare you boast so shamelessly when you're heavily injured? Today, I'll kill you and refine you into a culinary god fruit to help me increase my combat strength. Brat, do you think I'm one of those culinary god demons you killed before? Even though I'm heavily injured, it's still easy to deal with you. The culinary god demon said coldly. Obviously, the culinary god demon should have sensed the culinary god demon emperor law in Lin Feng's body. The culinary god demon's cultivation realm was very high. Lin Feng didn't find it strange that he could sense the culinary god demon emperor law in his body. Boom! Both sides didn't hold back and started fighting. Now, Lin Feng had obtained 3 stone swords. The 3 stone swords could form a combination. With one thought, he could control the stone sword combination. It was like controlling Heis. With one thought, he could condense the 3 Heis into a magnetic field. Lin Feng activated the weapon mantra at the same time. The weapon mantra was one of the 9 secrets of Taoism. Lin Feng had already seen how powerful it was. It was just that he didn't know how to use the weapon mantra before. Now, Lin Feng had also learned the weapon mantra. Under the control of the weapon mantra, the power of the 3 stone swords was gradually released. The stone swords were one of the most terrifying magic treasures since ancient times. Lin Feng would never forget the scene he saw back then. A stone sword flew across the sky. With one sword, it killed a black fog creature at its peak. The power of the stone swords was unimaginably powerful. Previously, Lin Feng didn't have the incantation to control the stone swords, so he couldn't release the power of the stone swords. But now, Lin Feng had mastered the weapon mantra. Although the weapon mantra couldn't release the full power of the stone swords, the weapon mantra could release part of the stone sword's power. The stone swords were supreme treasures. Even if they could only release part of their power, it was already terrifying enough. The 3 stone swords instantly arrived in front of the gluttonous god demon. The gluttonous god demon's voice was cold. Suppress your stone swords. The gluttonous god demon opened his hand and evolved a mysterious world. He wanted to use that mysterious world to suppress Lin Feng's stone swords. However, the gluttonous god demon had underestimated the power of the 3 stone swords. The 3 stone swords were Lin Feng's strongest combat power at the moment. The moment the 3 stone swords appeared, it was simply earth-shattering. They were so powerful. Everyone turned pale with fright. Facing the suppression of the illusory world condensed by the gluttonous god demon, the 3 stone swords instantly pierced through the illusory world. Then, they flew in front of the gluttonous god demon as fast as lightning. The gluttonous god demon couldn't dodge in time. Pooh, pooh, pooh. 3 consecutive ripping sounds were heard. Chapter 3402. The gluttonous god demon couldn't help but scream in agony as the 3 stone swords pierced his body. His body was severely injured. This kind of injury was fatal to the gluttonous god demon. When the 3 stone swords pierced the gluttonous god demon's body, the sword energy released by the stone swords almost destroyed his internal organs. The gluttonous god demon didn't die immediately because his cultivation was strong enough. The gluttonous god demon grabbed the 3 stone swords and pulled them out of his body. He threw all 3 stone swords out. He quickly retreated. Blood gushed out of the gluttonous god demon's body. Gluttonous god demon, it's time for you to die. Lin Feng's expression was cold as he continued to control the 3 stone swords to attack the gluttonous god demon. I can't accept this. I can't accept this. What kind of storms have I not seen in my life? But in the end, I actually died at the hands of an ant like you. I can't accept this. The gluttonous god demon knew that he had lost. However, he didn't want to die like this. He had already recovered to the peak of the sovereign emperor realm. If he had slowly recovered, the day would have come. He would have regained his former glory. However, now, all hope seemed to have been extinguished. Lin Feng said indifferently, I heard that you destroyed dozens of vital planets and devoured all the living beings on them. That's why so many experts from the sovereign sect surrounded you. Have you ever thought about how many innocent people have died at your hands? Have you ever thought about how great of a sin you've committed? There's a saying that goes, those who commit too much injustice will bring about their own destruction. This saying is very suitable for you. The gluttonous god demon said coldly, the weak are prey to the strong. Only the fittest survive. Did I do anything wrong? Lin Feng sneered. Since you don't think you did anything wrong, then there's naturally nothing wrong with me killing you. After saying that, Lin Feng continued to attack the gluttonous god demon. The 3 stone swords, under the influence of Lin Feng's soldier incantation, were astonishingly strong. The 3 stone swords moved as fast as lightning and once again arrived before the gluttonous god demon. Then, they attacked the gluttonous god demon. The gluttonous god demon couldn't resist the 3 stone swords. In the end, he was killed by Lin Feng's 3 stone swords. Bang! Lin Feng waved his sleeve and the gluttonous god demon's body exploded, turning into a gluttonous god fruit. Lin God Demon. Then, he would find a place to refine the divine eating fruit. Very few people came to this planet. Planet. Lin Feng found a secluded cave and sealed it with a deployment spell. Then, he sat. Lin Feng continued to refine the gluttonous god fruit's medicinal power. It didn't take long for Lin Feng to completely refine the gluttonous god fruit's medicinal power. Although his cultivation realm didn't increase, his combat strength increased by a lot. Of course, what made Lin Feng the happiest was that after the gluttonous god fruit's medicinal power was refined, the emperor laws within the fruit appeared. There were actually a total of 8 emperor laws. These were the emperor laws of the emperor realm. The stronger the gluttonous god demon, the harder it was for their emperor laws to integrate into the gluttonous god fruit. Therefore, the gluttonous god demon actually left behind a total of 8 emperor laws after its death. It was extremely difficult. Lin Feng refined all 8 emperor laws. These were 8 emperor laws of the peak emperor realm. They were very powerful. It was hard to imagine. After refining the 8 emperor laws, Lin Feng felt as if his body had endless power. This feeling, it was too comfortable. After coming out of seclusion, Lin Feng continued to fly towards the undying realm on the ancient ship. On the way, he would often study this treasure, the heart plate. This was a heaven-defying compass. Lin Feng had been trying to comprehend the method to activate the heart plate. However, after trying many times, he didn't gain anything, which made Lin Feng feel quite disappointed. Although he was very disappointed, Lin Feng had always been a person who became braver the more setbacks he faced. Now, he couldn't find a way to activate the heart plate. It didn't mean that he couldn't find a way to activate the heart plate in the future. The harder it was to find a way to activate the heart plate, the more extraordinary the heart plate was. On this day, Lin Feng saw a huge world. That world was bigger than any of the planets Lin Feng had seen before. Cultivators and ancient starships arrived one after another from all directions, flying towards the vast and boundless world. Brother, can you ask around what kind of world that is? Lin Feng pointed at the huge world that appeared in the distant starry sky world. That world is the 9 Mysteries Great World. The cultivator stopped by Lin Feng said impatiently. Then, he quickly left. The 9 Mysteries Great World. Originally, this world was the 9 Mysteries Great World. Lin Feng was very surprised. If the 9 Mysteries Great World hadn't died in the 9 prefectures, it would still be in a flourishing state. The current situation of the 9 Mysteries Great World was quite similar to that of the 9 Prefectures Great World. After the 9 Mysteries Great World's death, many forces came to the 9 Mysteries Great World to snatch its resources. Then, they besieged the 9 Mysteries Great World's clansmen. They wanted to obtain the treasure that the 9 Mysteries Great World's Great World had. Lin Feng didn't know what that treasure was. Perhaps some people knew, but Lin Feng guessed that those who knew what it was must be as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns. So many cultivators came to the Nine Mysteries' great world not just for that treasure. Although the supreme treasure from the supreme celestial court was incomparably precious, there was only one of it. Many people came to the Nine Mysteries' great world to get as many benefits as they could. The Nine Mysteries' great world was one of the 3,000 great worlds. Although it ranked lower, it was still one of the 3,000 great worlds. Therefore, there were still many treasures in the Nine Mysteries' great world. Some top forces even had their eyes on the great world origin of the Nine Mysteries' great world, wanting to seize it. The great world origin was too precious. If they could get enough of it, it might be able to help cultivators become immortals. I heard that the treasure from the Divine Court hasn't been found by many forces yet. I wonder what it is? Lin Feng couldn't help muttering to himself. He was also very interested in that treasure. Buzz, buzz. Suddenly, the two fire talismans in Lin Feng's hands emitted fluctuations again. Moreover, Chapter 3403. Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. The fluctuation from the fire demon talisman was so intense. Could it be that the third fire demon talisman was in the Nine Mysteries world? Thinking of this, Lin Feng couldn't help but be happy. If that was the case, it would naturally be a good thing for him. If he could find the third fire demon talisman, the fire demon talisman would be reorganized. When the time came, he would be able to evolve his martial soul once more. Lin Feng quickly flew towards the Nine Mysteries world. When Lin Feng landed in the Nine Mysteries world, the fluctuation of the fire demon talisman disappeared. Lin Feng's fire demon talisman couldn't sense the whereabouts of the third fire demon talisman at any time and place. It was always intermittent. If I can understand the secret of the heart plate and get the method to control it, maybe I can find the whereabouts of the third fire demon talisman with the help of the heart plate. Lin Feng couldn't help but say. It was a pity. The heart plate was mysterious and had an incredible positioning ability. But Lin Feng couldn't activate the heart plate now. Lin Feng used the innate 8 trigrams to deduce. The result was that Lin Feng went all the way west. The location of the fire demon talisman seemed to be somewhere in the western region of the Nine Mysteries world. But Lin Feng couldn't deduce the specific location. After all, Lin Feng didn't practice the innate 8 trigrams for a long time. In addition, the deduction technique was mysterious and unpredictable. How could it be so easy to master it? Everything needed to be done step by step. It couldn't be done in a flash. It was unrealistic. For Lin Feng, it was good enough to know the approximate location. At least he knew the direction to look for it. And Lin Feng believed that as he got closer to the location of the fire demon talisman, at that time, the two fire demon talismans on him would also react. At that time, the two fire demon talismans on him would definitely guide him to find the third fire demon talisman. The Nine Mysteries world was very chaotic because too many forces came to fight for the resources of the Nine Mysteries world. So, cultivators fighting could be seen everywhere. It was like a river of blood. It was extremely difficult for the native forces of the Nine Mysteries great world to survive. Many local forces were destroyed during this period of time. The situation was dire. This kind of thing was predictable. Whenever a force was invaded, its native forces would usually suffer a heavy blow. On this day, Lin Feng saw the woman in white from afar. Previously, the white-clothed woman had been surrounded and attacked by the black fog creatures. There seemed to be something on the white-robed woman that the black fog creature had set its eyes on. An item that could catch the attention of a being from the previous era definitely had an extraordinary origin. Therefore, the identity of the white-clothed woman would definitely cause people to speculate. Lin Feng had previously made a deal with this woman in white at the trade fair. Lin Feng had heard through the grapevine that this woman in white might be related to the Undying Realm, but whether it was true or not, Lin Feng was not sure. She's been looking for something, and now she's in the Nine Mysteries great world. Could it be that the thing she's looking for has also appeared in the Nine Mysteries great world? Lin Feng couldn't help muttering to himself. The white-clothed woman also saw Lin Feng, but she didn't say anything. Her expression was cold as she quickly left. Lin Feng couldn't help but twitch his mouth. After all, they had made a deal before. She actually had such a cold expression. What a heartless woman. Lin Feng flew all the way to the west. Along the way, many opportunities appeared But Lin Feng didn't care about them. He didn't stop to compete with others for those opportunities. This was because Lin Feng's thoughts were all on the third fire demon talisman. If he could find the third fire demon talisman, it was too important to him. The third fire demon talisman was enough to transform Lin Feng's martial soul. Lin Feng was looking forward to seeing his devouring martial soul evolve again. His martial soul was closely related to him. When his devouring martial soul evolved, Lin Feng's battle strength would increase greatly. Half a month later, Lin Feng arrived at the famous Nine Black Fallen Immortal Realm in the Nine Black Great World. It was an endless stretch of ancient forest. The place was very quiet. Nine Black Fallen Immortal Realm, the legendary land of fallen immortals. That place was almost a forbidden zone for life. Although there were countless opportunities, few people took the risk to enter it. That was because that place was too dangerous. Many experts had been buried there in the past. Countless years ago, someone saw an immortal fall from the outer world into the depths of the forest. It was said that an immortal could form a strong magnetic field. Therefore, after the immortal fell, he changed the law of heaven and earth and gradually turned this place into a forbidden zone for life. Many cultivators gathered outside the Nine Black Fallen Immortal Realm. Some of them were quite familiar with the legend of the Nine Black Fallen Immortal Realm. I heard another version, a cultivator said. It was different from what the previous cultivator had heard. The cultivator said, "It's said that a continent fell from the sky when the Scientian life forms ruled the heavens and realms. Later, the fallen continent formed the Joshuan Fallen Immortal Realm. More and more people came out with a few more legends. However, it was impossible to tell which of the legends about the nine profound fallen immortal realm was the real deal, because no one had experienced what had happened back then. That was something that had happened countless years ago. Later generations could only understand what had happened back then from some legends. How much of what everyone knew was true, and how much was made up by the later generations? Who knew? Buzz. Buzz. As Lin Feng looked into the depths of the Nine Black Fallen Immortal Realm, the two fire demon talismans in his mountain river ring vibrated again. Lin Feng was shocked. He looked into the depths of the Nine Black Fallen Immortal Realm. Could the fire demon talismans be in the depths of the Nine Black Fallen Immortal Realm? Maybe it was possible. Lin Feng felt that he had to enter the Nine Black Fallen Immortal Realm to search. At this moment, a beam of immortal light shot up into the sky from the Nine Black Fallen Immortal Realm. What's that? Many people were shocked. Something could be vaguely seen floating in the immortal light. Upon closer inspection, it seemed to be a scepter. As time passed, everyone could finally see what was inside the immortal light. It really was a scepter, and a golden one at that. A golden scepter. What's so special about it? A cultivator asked, puzzled. Could it be that thing? An old cultivator asked, his expression uncertain. He seemed to have thought of something shocking. Senior, what is that scepter? A cultivator asked impatiently. It's very likely to be the legendary divine scepter. Hiss. Chapter 3404. This was Lin Feng's first time hearing the name Holy Scepter. He didn't know the origin of the Holy Scepter. There were many cultivators like Lin Feng who had never heard of the Holy Scepter. They didn't know what the Holy Scepter was either. However, from the shocked expressions in the eyes of those who had heard of the Holy Scepter, one could tell how extraordinary the Holy Scepter was. The old cultivator said, "Do you know the division of forces in the innate lifeform era? Nuwa, Pangu, Fire God Zhurong, 12 ancestral shamans, and so on were all experts of that era, and they stood at the peak," a cultivator said. Indeed, many experts appeared in that era, and those experts often had many followers, which formed the earliest division of forces. However, the existences we are talking about all belong to the forces of the Eastern Universe world. The old man said, "Eastern Universe world? What does that mean?" Many people couldn't help but be puzzled. You meant boundless and limitless. You meant the fusion of time and space. The meaning of the universe was the boundless world. It also meant the boundless starry sky world. Therefore, in the world of cultivators, all the starry sky, stars, worlds, parallel spaces, and so on included in an era were collectively called universe. However, countless people had never heard of the concept of the Eastern Universe world. The old man continued, "Everyone should know that everything in the world is divided into yin and yang." At this point, the old man glanced at the surrounding cultivators. Many people nodded. Of course, everyone knew this. It was like day and night, men and women, the sun and the moon. Everything in the world seemed to follow the cycle of yin and yang. The old man continued, "Although the universe is only a macroscopic concept, in reality, the universe also follows the principle of the cycle of yin and yang. Therefore, there was the division of the Eastern universe and the Western universe. The beginning of the era. The Eastern and Western universes gave birth to each other, and in the Eastern universe, existences like Pangu, Nuwa, and so on appeared. And in the Western universe, terrifying existences like Zeus, Allah, God, and Odin appeared. The development of the Eastern and Western universes is different, but in history, two universes with different cultures will collide sooner or later. Therefore, in the great wars since ancient times, in addition to the wars between the creatures of the previous era, the creatures of the alien domain, and the innate realm, there are also wars between the forces of the Western universe and the Western universe. It's just that too much time has passed, and a lot of information has disappeared. When the era of sentient life forms ended, there was an unprecedented disaster. Even cultivation was cut off, not to mention the Taoist scriptures that recorded the historical records. They were all destroyed in the Great War. That's why the world doesn't know much about the Western universe anymore." After hearing the old man's words, countless people were shocked. For too many people, the Western universe was full of mysteries and unknowns. It was even full of fear and worry. The cultivation system of the Western universe forces was definitely different from the cultivation system of the Eastern universe forces. However, this didn't affect the strength of the powers in the Western universe. Lin Feng was also shocked. This was the first time he had heard about the Western universe. For example, Zeus, Allah, God, and other existences. This was also the first time Lin Feng had heard about them. Of course, from the old man's description, he could clearly know how terrifying those existences were. They should be existences of the same era as Nuwa, Pangu, and the others. Lin Feng didn't know if the Demon Lord knew about the Western universe. Anyway, the Demon Lord had never mentioned the Western universe to him before. At this time, the old man continued, "The Holy Scepter is the top treasure of the Western universe world." Many people couldn't help but be moved, since it was the top treasure of the Western universe. Its power was definitely very powerful. Moreover, if they could get the Holy Scepter, they might be able to understand the Western universe world in detail through the Holy Scepter. Soon, the holy light disappeared. The Holy Scepter also disappeared. However, the news quickly spread. Many major forces were alarmed, and more experts came here. Lin Feng felt that perhaps he could continue to wait. The Jiuquan Fallen Immortal Domain was very dangerous. If those top forces entered to look for the Holy Scepter, the dangers in the Jiuquan Fallen Immortal Domain would most likely be attracted by those top forces. When he entered the Jiuquan Fallen Immortal Domain, the danger factor would be much lower. Boom. A day later, a terrifying expert arrived. It was an expert at the Emperor's sect level, shrouded in a demonic light. It was a Saint Demon expert. Soon, more Emperor sect level experts arrived, their bodies surrounded by Emperor Qi. It's a cultivator from the Mystic God clan. It's rumored that they are an extremely mysterious clan. A cultivator said, "The various races outside the domain, including the myriad races of the heavenly sage great world." There were cultivators arriving. The experts were as numerous as clouds, gathered here. On the third day, the sound of the heavenly Tao resounded through the world. Next, in the distance, a 9-headed dragon pulled a divine chariot over. Around the divine chariot, there were more than 10 great emperors guarding it. Everyone was shocked, because the other party's formation was too big. Who is it? Could it be a Saint Emperor? Many people were shocked. Perhaps only a Saint Emperor's trip would cause such a huge formation. Lin Feng couldn't help but look at the divine chariot in the distance. 9 dragons pulling the chariot. It was extremely noble. Finally, The divine chariot stopped in the void. One of the great emperors lifted the curtain. A young man in embroidered robes walked out of the divine chariot. It was a very young and handsome young master. When they saw the young master, everyone was astonished. Originally, everyone thought that it was a saint emperor. Who would have thought that it was just a young cultivator? For such a young cultivator to travel with such a huge entourage, it was simply too inconceivable. Who was that person? Could he be a direct descendant of a superpower? Someone asked. He was very curious about that young cultivator. Many people were discussing the young man's identity. Someone said, that young man is from the heavenly human clan. I think his name is Tianwuya. What? The legendary heavenly human clan cultivator? Countless people heard the cultivator's words. Chapter 3405. The Celestial Race. What an ancient race. This was the earliest human race. It was also one of the most powerful human forces. The ancestors of the primordial era were actually the celestial race, the immortal race, and other races. Originally, these humans had also experienced weakness. However, after experiencing many upheavals, not only did they not go extinct, they became stronger and stronger. Later, after the war of the liches and demons, the celestial race and the immortal race joined forces to occupy the supreme heaven realm. However, at this time, the human race was very divided. The celestial race and the immortal race were still powerful, but the bloodlines of many human tribes began to weaken. Their physical bodies were not as strong as before. The celestial race and the immortal race no longer recognized themselves as humans, because they looked down on those human forces that were becoming more and more ordinary. Perhaps the primordial era human race, the celestial race, and the immortal race were the only human forces whose bloodlines had not weakened. Today, the celestial race and the immortal race were still powerful. The heaven realm was still under the joint control of the celestial race and the immortal race. It was said that even the celestial emperor, the leader of the undying realm, which was ranked first in the 3,000 great worlds, he was also an expert of the celestial race. In order to better control the undying realm, the celestial emperor had just come to the undying realm from the supreme heaven realm. To the cultivators of the mortal world, the celestial race and the immortal race were basically legendary races. In the mortal world, there were no cultivators of the celestial race and the immortal race at all. If all the worlds in the Eastern universe were regarded as a centralized country, then the celestial race and the immortal race would be the supreme ruler. And these direct descendants of the celestial race and the immortal race, they would take in princes and princesses. Their status was high and mighty. Now that they knew Tianwuya's identity, everyone finally understood why a young cultivator like Tianwuya would be followed by so many emperor-level experts. This was the prince of the Eastern universe world. Any cultivator of any faction would naturally have to curry favor with Tianwuya when they saw him. It's very rare to hear of the celestial race or the immortal race's clansmen moving around in the mortal world. At most, they would move around in the undying world and a few other top-ranked worlds. How did this Tianwuya come to our Nine Mysteries Great World? The Star Ocean world where our Nine Mysteries world is located is already far away from the center of the universe. It is equivalent to a frontier area of a centralized country. Such a royal family member would not come to such a frontier area to suffer. Some cultivators voiced out their doubts. Who knows what these big shots are thinking? Maybe there are some unknown things that need to be dealt with. So I came to this Star Sea world and heard many things about the Nine Mysterious world. So I came to the Nine Mysterious world. Someone said. Tianwuya stood outside the Nine Profound Fallen Immortal Realm. His eyes seemed to be able to see through the past, present, and future. Tianwuya was really too young. Lin Feng felt that this person's lifespan should only be around 100 years. However, his cultivation was actually at the Imperial Emperor realm. This was truly inconceivable. He had no idea how this fellow cultivated. But then he remembered that Tianwuya was from the heavenly human tribe. He must have all kinds of cultivation resources. If he encountered a cultivation bottleneck, he would definitely have extremely powerful teachers to guide his cultivation. This was not something that ordinary cultivators could compare with. Is this Tianwuya from the Undying Realm or the Celestial Realm? Lin Feng could not help but mutter. A powerful force like the heavenly human tribe was definitely divided into many factions. For example, the celestial emperor belonged to one of the factions. Moreover, he belonged to the feudal officials. He held an important position in the heavenly human tribe. The celestial emperor was just a title. In fact, the celestial emperor's surname was Di. The celestial emperor's son, Di Wudao, had followed his father in the past. However, he betrayed his father and even plotted against him. Otherwise, the tragedy would not have happened. His mother would not have been suppressed, his uncle, whom he had never met, would not have died, and his father would not have been seriously injured. Tian Wuya and Di Wudao both belonged to the heavenly human tribe. However, their surnames were different. Perhaps they belonged to different factions. When the experts of the Starry Sky realm saw Tian Wuya, they wanted to go up and greet him. However, they were stopped by the great emperors beside Tian Wuya. The group of experts had ugly expressions. However, when faced with someone as important as Tian Wuya, they could only swallow their pride. They could only swallow their pride. They could only retreat with their tails between their legs. Which one of them isn't a famous expert in the Starry Sky realm? If it were any other time, they would have already flared up. But now, they don't even dare to say a word. Someone could not help but sigh. Perhaps the important figures in our eyes are just ants in the eyes of the heavenly human tribe. Someone else said. Many people nodded. Perhaps only those who had reached the sage emperor, emperor lord, or even the immortal realm. That was why the heavenly human tribe and immortal tribe valued them. The apocalypse has arrived and the worlds have been destroyed. However, with the strength of the heavenly human tribe and immortal tribe, they will definitely be able to survive until the next era. Lin Feng could not help but think. Let's go. Let's go in and take a look. Tian Wuya said. Yes, young master. The great emperors beside Tian Wuya replied. These great emperors did not dare to hesitate. They hurriedly followed Tian Wuya into the 9 profound fallen immortal realm. After these people entered the 9 profound fallen immortal realm, cultivators flew into the 9 profound fallen immortal realm one after another. However, most of the cultivators who entered the 9 profound fallen immortal realm were great emperors. Without reaching the great emperor realm, these cultivators did not dare to enter the 9 profound fallen immortal realm casually. After all, the 9 profound fallen immortal realm was very dangerous. Without reaching the great emperor realm, entering the 9 profound fallen immortal realm was no different from suicide. Lin Feng also entered the 9 profound fallen immortal realm because the fire demon talisman was in the 9 profound fallen immortal realm. No matter how dangerous it was, he had to enter and search for it. Fortunately, there were already many cultivators who had entered the 9 profound fallen immortal realm. These cultivators helped Lin Feng attract many dangers in the 9 profound fallen immortal realm. The 9 profound fallen immortal realm was very quiet, surrounded by white mist. This white mist separated the 9 profound fallen immortal realm from the outside world. Looking into the 9 profound fallen immortal realm from the outside world, one could not see the situation inside at all, unless there was a huge commotion like when the golden scepter appeared and a glaring light was released. The cultivators outside would not be able to see it clearly. Buzz, buzz. After entering the 9 profound fallen immortal realm, the 2 fire demon talismans vibrated more and more violently. Lin Feng took out the 2 fire demon talismans. Chapter 3406. Lin Feng's face lit up with joy. It seemed that the 2 fire demon talismans must have sensed the aura of the third one. That was why they took the initiative to fly deeper. Lin Feng followed the 2 fire demon talismans all the way into the Jiuquan Fallen Immortal Realm. The Jiuquan Fallen Immortal Realm contained extremely terrifying and powerful restrictions. Those restrictions contained terrifying power that could destroy heaven and earth. However, those restrictions couldn't hurt Lin Feng, because Lin Feng's research on large arrays had reached a level of perfection. No matter how powerful the restrictions were, it wasn't easy to hurt Lin Feng. Just like the restrictions here, although they were very powerful, they couldn't hurt Lin Feng. Therefore, Lin Feng's journey was relatively smooth. When he arrived at the fifth mountain, Lin Feng felt a cold aura spread all over his body. The fire demon talisman also stopped and floated in midair. White fog rolled. This place severely restrained the mental power of a cultivator. Therefore, Lin Feng's perception was severely suppressed. When his divine thoughts searched for the source of the cold aura, but he didn't find anything, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. Swoosh! At this moment, a chill came from behind. Then a cold light suddenly appeared. Looking carefully, it turned out to be a sharp claw. It reached out from the void and grabbed at Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't even notice all this in advance. This showed how terrifying the existence was. However, Lin Feng's reaction was fast enough. Now his body seemed to have an instinctive reaction. This was an ability to actively avoid danger that he had developed in countless battles. When the terrifying attack came, Lin Feng's body would actively avoid it. It was the same this time. Whoosh! When the danger came, his body moved horizontally to the left. Immediately, he dodged that terrifying attack by a hair's breadth, and the terrifying existence that attacked Lin Feng disappeared without a trace again. Lin Feng searched with his divine thought, but he found nothing. What a terrifying existence! Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. Although he couldn't pinpoint the exact location of the terrifying existence, when the terrifying existence approached Lin Feng's body would have an unprecedented sense of tension. This was a sense of unknown danger. At this moment, Lin Feng had this feeling again. Lin Feng knew that terrifying existence must have appeared again. That terrifying existence must be closing in on him at a rapid pace. So, the situation was extremely bad. However, Lin Feng wasn't without a way to deal with it. He performed the 1 qi into 3 pure ones. 2 clones appeared. Then, the 9 domineering aura magnetic field. The power of the 9 layers domineering magnetic field was so terrifying that it could make ghosts and gods pale in comparison. When the 9 aura magnetic field was released, the terrifying creature that could merge into the void and attack silently was immediately enveloped by Lin Feng's 9 domineering magnetic field. After being enveloped by the 9 domineering magnetic field, the terrifying creature could no longer completely hide its body. A silver-white figure flashed and disappeared, but soon it became invisible again. Found you. Lin Feng's expression was cold, although the silver-white figure only appeared for a short time. However, Lin Feng was still staring at the silver-white silhouette. The silver-white figure. There was nowhere to hide. Then, Lin Feng took out 3 stone swords. The 3 stone swords were as fast as lightning as they slashed forward. The speed was too fast. Clang, clang. 2 consecutive clangs of collision were heard. 2 of the stone swords were hit by the creature hidden in the void. The 2 stone swords were sent flying. However, the 3rd stone sword unleashed its might and struck the terrifying creature that was hiding in the void. A puff was heard. The 3rd stone sword tore the body of the terrifying creature apart. Fresh blood immediately spurted out. Screech! The being hidden in the void couldn't help but let out a painful shriek. Then it rushed out of Lin Feng's 9 domineering magnetic field. What a powerful creature! If I didn't have so many tricks up my sleeve, I might have really fallen into the hands of this creature. After the terrifying creature left, Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. It was really dangerous just now. Fortunately, Lin Feng's methods were extraordinary and he successfully resolved the danger. There are quite a few great emperors who have entered this place. I think some of them will fall here. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. This was completely predictable, because the Jiuxian Fallen Immortal region was indeed incomparably dangerous. Hum. The 2 fire demon talismans that were floating motionlessly in the air vibrated violently again. Then the 2 fire demon talismans continued to fly deeper. Lin Feng followed the 2 fire demon talismans. In the end, the 2 fire demon talismans arrived in front of a cave on the 6th mountain. That cave. It was extremely deep. Waves of gloomy and cold aura were emitted from the cave. After feeling the gloomy and cold aura, Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. The inside of this cave was probably not a safe place. Perhaps there was something terrifying hidden inside. However, The 2 fire demon talismans flew into the cave without hesitation. The 3rd fire demon talisman is in the cave? Lin Feng couldn't help but show a surprised expression. He followed the 2 fire demon talismans into the cave. Along the way, Lin Feng was very cautious, because this place was a forbidden zone for life. In such a dangerous place, one must be careful at all times, or else you might die in such a dangerous place. The cave was extremely long. After walking for a long time, he still couldn't reach the end. Half an hour later, a huge mountain appeared in front of him. Lin Feng entered the mountain. The 2 fire demon talismans were floating in the mountain. That's... Lin Feng looked at the rock wall of the mountain. Suddenly, he showed an extremely shocked expression. He saw that there were murals on the rock wall. He didn't know who carved the murals. Those murals were surrounded by immortal power. Therefore, even though an extremely long time had passed, those murals were still preserved. If it weren't for the immortal power surrounding those murals, perhaps they would have been destroyed by the power of time. What are these murals painted? Lin Feng was puzzled. He quickly walked towards a mural. Then, Lin Feng saw that this mural was actually a stone tower. The stone tower had a total of 7 floors. There were many stone pillars on each floor of the stone tower. Chapter 3407. A person tied to a pillar? What does that mean? Lin Feng couldn't help but feel puzzled. The demon lord said, "Sacrifice." It's a type of sacrifice from a very long time ago. This type of sacrifice is very evil. It binds a person to a pillar, and the pillar will gradually suck away the person's essence, blood, and soul. In the end, the person tied to the pillar will only be left with a skeleton. Hearing this type of sacrifice, Lin Feng's expression couldn't help but change slightly. This was using a living person as a sacrifice. This type of sacrifice was incomparably evil and forbidden. Of course, in extremely ancient times, this type of sacrifice might have been allowed. Stone pagoda, stone pillars, when will such sacrificial rituals be used? Lin Feng asked. The demon lord said, this type of sacrifice should only be used in burial. Because it's too cruel, this type of sacrifice was lost later on. Burial? Could it be that this stone pagoda is actually a burial ground? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. His expression became serious. A stone tower was actually used as a burial ground. It seemed that the existence that had fallen back then was extremely extraordinary. Perhaps he was a peerless and invincible expert? Yes, it should be a burial ground. In the Stone Age and some eras before, some top forces would often use stone burial methods. The so-called stone burial method is to create powerful stone treasures, such as the more common stone coffins. Of course, there are also many things made of stone. The corpses of experts would be placed in these things made of stone. Some of the more evil forces would carry out extremely cruel and evil sacrifices during burial. This type of sacrifice is very strange. For example, this type of sacrifice that appears on the murals. It binds a person to a stone pillar, and the cultivator's essence, blood, and soul will be completely devoured. This is a type of sacrifice from that era. The demon lord continued. Lin Feng couldn't help but touch his chin. He continued to look at the murals. The second mural showed a group of people carrying a stone coffin into a stone tower. Stone coffin, stone tower. It seems that the identity of the person who died all those years ago was not ordinary at all, Lin Feng said. The third mural appeared on the 7th floor of the stone tower. The group of people carried the sarcophagus to the 7th floor. On the ground of the 7th floor of the stone tower, there was an unknown array. The sarcophagus was placed in the center of the formation by the group of people. The demon lord said, many forces in that era believed in the resurrection of the dead. They felt that the soul of the dead had temporarily left the body, and that the soul would return again one day. Therefore, in that era, people generally did not burn the body after death, but preserved the body very well. Look at the array on the 7th floor of the tower. If I'm not wrong, that should be a resurrection array set up by this evil force to resurrect the dead. Resurrection array? There's such a formation? Lin Feng couldn't help but reveal an extremely shocked expression. This was the first time he had heard of the so-called resurrection array. Yes, at that time, There were indeed many forces that researched all kinds of resurrection arrays. Because the era was different, the concept was different as well. Some of the actions of the people of that era might be inconceivable, but in their era, it was very normal. The Demon Lord said. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. Because Lin Feng discovered that the Demon Lord had a very clear understanding of things that happened in the distant past. When the Demon Lord had just awakened, his memories were incomplete. He didn't even remember who he was. Now, the Demon Lord actually remembered things that happened so long ago so clearly. It seemed that the Demon Lord had recovered quite well. Lin Feng continued to look at the murals. The murals at the back were scenes of various sacrifices. Many creatures appeared and surrounded the stone pagoda. Then, they began to worship it. The last mural was filled with endless black fog. The boundless black fog completely covered the stone pagoda. Then, the stone pagoda disappeared. After seeing this scene, Lin Feng was very surprised. How did the stone tower disappear? Could it be related to the sudden appearance of the black fog? Where did the stone tower go after it disappeared? But there were no more murals at the back. So, everything was a mystery. After Lin Feng finished looking at the murals, he couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Why would these murals appear in this place? Did these murals hint at something? Lin Feng thought. These murals shouldn't have appeared in this place for no reason. There must be some deep meaning in it. At this time, Lin Feng suddenly had a feeling of being on his back. It was as if he was being stared at by some terrifying creature. Lin Feng seemed to have sensed something and looked up. He immediately saw. At the top of the rock wall, there were actually densely packed stone bats. After seeing those stone bats, Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. One must know. The Stone Clan was a very terrifying creature, and it was very difficult to see Stone Clan creatures. But there were so many stone bats in front of him. This was too terrifying. The stone bats looked at Lin Feng with their cold eyes. Those pairs of eyes flashed with dense killing intent. Some stone bats seemed to still be in a deep sleep and hadn't woken up. But many stone bats had already woken up. And, at this moment, there were more stone bats that were constantly waking up from their deep sleep. It was really terrifying. Lin Feng's face couldn't help but reveal an extremely solemn expression. There were too many stone bats and their aura was very terrifying. It made his hair stand on end. If he was besieged by these stone bats, the consequences would be unimaginable. Lin Feng was very clear about this point. So Lin Feng planned to quickly leave this place before these stone bats attacked. Whoosh! At this time, 2 fire demon talismans flew as fast as lightning towards the depths of the mountain. In the blink of an eye, they had already rushed into a passage in the depths of the mountain. Lin Feng gritted his teeth. He didn't fly out, but rushed into the deeper passage. Screech! At this time, the densely packed stone bats let out a sharp, ear-piercing cry. Then, those stone bats spread their wings and rushed towards Lin Feng. Chapter 3408. The terrifying waves coming from behind were simply suffocating. Lin Feng increased his speed to the extreme. Those stone bats were in hot pursuit, and those stone bats could release powerful sound wave attacks. Those sound waves condensed together. They attacked Lin Feng again and again. The sound wave attacks of these stone bats were extremely strange. Not only could they form a powerful physical attack, they could also have a great impact on a cultivator's soul. Before the sound waves arrived, they had already shaken the void and launched a soul attack on Lin Feng from a long distance. Lin Feng's soul had been greatly affected by it. He almost fell head first into the abyss. But fortunately, Lin Feng's soul was strong enough to withstand the sound wave attack at the critical moment. Therefore, Lin Feng stabilized his body. Then, he quickly dodged and moved, avoiding the terrifying sound waves that were bombarding him. These stone bats are so freakishly strong. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. The stone bats were so terrifying that people couldn't help but be shocked. Fortunately, Lin Feng's means were also extremely extraordinary. Otherwise, he might have died under the attack of the stone bats just now. Lin Feng stepped on the world in all directions. He increased his speed to the extreme. Fast, fast, fast. Lin Feng's speed was extremely fast. He gradually pulled some distance away from the stone bats, although he couldn't shake off those stone bats. But fortunately, the distance between the two sides was quite far, and this distance was considered a safe distance. The stone bat's attacks couldn't cross this distance to hurt Lin Feng for the time being. Therefore, Lin Feng couldn't help but show an expression of relief on his face. At this moment, Lin Feng saw that the passage ahead was getting wider and wider. After rushing out of the passage, Lin Feng saw a huge underground rift valley. The two fire demon talismans quickly rushed into the underground rift valley. Lin Feng also quickly chased after the two fire demon talismans. After the stone bats reached this place, they didn't continue to chase Lin Feng. After those stone bats let out a shrill cry of unwillingness, they quickly left. Lin Feng, on the other hand, flew all the way down. The further down they went, the higher the temperature. When Lin Feng arrived at the bottom of the Great Rift Valley, he discovered that there was a world of magma below the Great Rift Valley. This was a magma world formed underground. Everywhere was boiling magma. The two fire demon talismans flew towards the depths of the lava world. Lin Feng continued to follow behind the two fire devil talismans. Looks like we're about to reach the location of the third fire demon talisman. Lin Feng's face lit up with joy. Once he obtained the third fire demon talisman, his martial soul would evolve once again. Roar! Suddenly, the roar resounded throughout the world. Clattering sounds could be heard. Next, a large amount of lava splashed in all directions. A terrifying existence rushed out of the world of lava. It was a giant fiery red beast. Its whole body was like a round meatball. After rushing out, it opened its bloody mouth and swallowed Lin Feng. It wanted to eat Lin Feng in one bite. Is this a chaos divine beast? Lin Feng's face revealed a shocked expression. The creature that rushed out looked like the legendary chaos divine beast. The demon lord said, "It's not a chaos divine beast, but a magma giant beast." This magma giant beast's appearance is quite similar to a chaos divine beast, but its strength is far inferior. Although the magma giant beast's strength and the chaos divine beast's strength were quite different. But that was because the magma giant beast was inferior to the chaos divine beast. But in fact, the magma giant beast was also an extremely terrifying existence. Of course, Lin Feng was even more powerful. This magma giant beast wanted to compete with Lin Feng. Lin Feng's body quickly moved to the left and immediately dodged the magma giant beast's attack. Then Lin Feng raised his right hand and used his palm as a knife. He directly slashed out a blow. Puff! The power of that blow was so tyrannical that it made people turn pale with fright. It directly split the magma giant beast down the middle. Blood spurted out. The magma giant beast's huge body fell into the lava. In an instant, it was drowned by the boiling lava. Lin Feng continued to fly deeper into the lava. The fire demon talisman stopped above a piece of boiling lava. But that place was very ordinary. Lin Feng didn't see anything special. Could the third fire demon talisman be under the lava? Lin Feng couldn't help but think. He was about to enter the depths of the lava to explore, but he didn't expect that the fire demon talisman would undergo a shocking change. The runes on the fire demon talisman lit up. Looking carefully, it was actually two maps. They were two maps to find the third fire demon talisman. Both fire demon talismans shot out a beam of light, and that beam of light shone into the lava below. Rumbling sounds came from under the lava. Then, a stone platform broke through the lava and appeared in Lin Feng's sight. He saw a fiery red toad lying on the stone platform, but that fiery red toad was no longer alive. In the mouth of the fiery red toad, there was a fire demon talisman. The fiery toad had a talisman in its mouth. That fiery red toad was definitely not an ordinary character. Lin Feng even felt a suffocating pressure from the body of the fiery red toad. That fiery red toad had been dead for so many years, but its body could still release such a powerful pressure. He really didn't know how terrifying the power of that fiery red toad was when it was alive. Lin Feng's face couldn't help but reveal an extremely shocked expression. He flew toward the fiery red toad. But at that moment, someone flew over from afar. Lin Feng looked over and found that there were a total of 7 people. Among these people, Lin Feng only knew one of them, which was the white-clothed woman who was besieged by the black fog creatures. Of course, he didn't really know her. After all, Lin Feng didn't even know the name of the white-clothed woman. They had only met a few times and made a deal at the trade fair on planet Lanjiao. As for the other 6 people, Lin Feng had never seen them before. These 7 people came together. They probably joined forces to resist the attack of the stone bats and arrived here. But after coming in, they distanced themselves from each other. They were clearly not from the same camp. Previously, they were only temporarily working together to deal with the stone bats. Martial talismans? 3 martial talismans. An Emperor Realm cultivator looked at the 3 fire demon talismans in shock. The other cultivators also saw the 3 fire demon talismans, but they weren't very interested, because they weren't human cultivators. Those cultivators all looked at the fiery red toad lying on the stone platform. Holy fire toad! It really is this terrifying creature. In the past, it was only one step away from becoming an immortal. It was said that when it was refining some kind of heavenly fire, it was devoured by the heavenly fire and finally died. Chapter 3409. Hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but be surprised. It was one step away from becoming an immortal. It seemed to be a subimmortal existence. But in the end, it died from the backlash of refining the heavenly fire. What a pity. However, this was the world of cultivators. It was an extremely cruel world. Many cultivators might have cultivated to an extremely high level, but in the end, they still couldn't escape death. Take this holy flame toad, for example. In the past, it was only one step away from becoming an immortal, but in the end, it still died. It was really sad. Lin Feng couldn't help but think of another possibility. The reason why this holy flame toad died. Was it because, in the past, it wanted to use the heavenly fire to break through to the immortal realm, but it was devoured by the heavenly fire? Thinking about it carefully, it was really possible. Lin Feng couldn't sense the aura of the heavenly fire. This meant that there was no heavenly fire that the holy flame toad refined in the past. Was the clue to the heavenly fire on the holy flame toad? Thinking of this, Lin Feng felt his heartbeat suddenly become much faster. Heavenly fire. It was equally important to him, because heavenly fire could play an extremely important role in many cases. If one could gather 9 types of heavenly fire, they could form the legendary 9 heavenly fire immortal slaughtering formation and other top heavenly fire formations. It was said that once these heavenly fire formations were used, they could directly refine a great world. If an immortal realm expert was trapped in such a heavenly fire array, only death would await them in the end. Of course, these were just legends after all. Lin Feng didn't know whether they were true or not. He would have to wait until Lin Feng collected all 9 types of heavenly fire in the future to know. Lin Feng now had 5 types of heavenly fire. It would be even better if he could get the heavenly fire that the holy flame toad failed to refine in the past. When the time came, Lin Feng collected 6 types of heavenly fire. Everyone, you're late. The things here already have an owner. Please go back the way you came, Lin Feng said. Humph. Immediately, a great emperor snorted and looked at Lin Feng indifferently. An ant-like thing dares to boast shamelessly here? These great emperors all looked at Lin Feng from the corner of their eyes. They did not put Lin Feng in their eyes at all. In their eyes, Lin Feng was just an ant or a dog. If they wanted to kill Lin Feng, it would be as simple as moving a finger. Lin Feng sneered and said, "You keep saying that others are ants, but I think that you are the ants. Just now, I gave you face and let you go back the way you came. However, if you don't want face, I don't mind stepping on you like bugs under my feet and directly crushing you to death." The 7 great emperors entered. Only the white-robed female cultivator did not say anything. Instead, she watched the conflict between Lin Feng and the 6 thearchs from the side. The white-robed female cultivator had long recognized Lin Feng's identity and knew that Lin Feng was definitely not an ordinary person. Therefore, she had been waiting and watching. As for the other 6 thearchs, they naturally did not put Lin Feng, a quasi-emperor cultivator, in their eyes. However, a mere quasi-emperor cultivator, whom they regarded as an ant, was now looking down on them. How could the 6 thearchs tolerate it? The Emperor Realm Cultivator who spoke first looked at Lin Feng indifferently and said, "Boy, this seat is a guard under the command of young Master Tian Wu Ya of the Celestial Clan. Now, this seat orders you to hand over that martial talisman to this seat, then sever one of your arms. Then, this seat will not pursue today's matter with you." This Emperor Realm expert said these words to Lin Feng from his personal point of view. He did not pursue the matter with Lin Feng. As for whether others would pursue the matter with Lin Feng, it was none of his business. This Emperor Realm expert's tone was completely unquestionable. He glanced sideways at Lin Feng, treating Lin Feng as an ant. This was a kind of arrogance that emanated from his bones. Lin Feng said indifferently, "Heavenly Human Clan's Tian Wuya? You want to give the martial talisman to your master and let your master refine it? What a loyal servant." Although the Heavenly Human Clan that Tian Wuya belonged to had long since stopped recognizing themselves as humans, but they were still humans in essence, and they also had martial souls. Therefore, Tian Wuya could indeed use the martial talisman. When he heard Lin Feng's mockery, he was furious. The corners of this Emperor Realm expert's mouth twitched violently. Many great emperors saw it as an honor to be able to follow Tian Wuya, because Tian Wuya was a supreme disciple of the Heavenly Human Clan. Following Tian Wuya, his future was limitless. But now that these words came out of Lin Feng's mouth, he, who followed Tian Wuya, had actually become a loyal servant. Of course, to be honest, Lin Feng's words were not wrong. But in the eyes of this Emperor Realm expert, Lin Feng's words were clearly mocking him. How could this Monarch Realm Cultivator endure such mockery? "Brat, since you want to die so badly, then I don't mind fulfilling your wish." The Emperor Realm expert's voice was cold as he spoke. His dermic powers started to flow within his body. This person began to prepare his attack. The rest of the great emperors looked at this scene indifferently. In their eyes, Lin Feng was no different from a dead man. They were also happy to see Lin Feng be killed. After Lin Feng died, they would then fight for the Holy Fire Toad's corpse. As for the 3 martial talismans, these people planned to give them to Tian Wuya as a favor. "I never kill a nameless person. Tell me your name," Lin Feng said indifferently. After hearing Lin Feng's words, the Emperor Realm expert's mouth twitched violently. He was actually looked down upon by Lin Feng again and again. This Emperor Realm expert's killing intent was monstrous. He couldn't wait to kill Lin Feng immediately. "Brat, go to hell." This Emperor Realm expert took a step forward and then punched towards Lin Feng. This Emperor Realm expert didn't use any divine ability. With his cultivation base, it would be a joke if he used divine ability to deal with a boundary Emperor Realm cultivator. That brat is dead for sure. The other 5 great emperors looked at Lin Feng indifferently. They didn't think that a boundary Emperor Realm cultivator could resist the attack of an Emperor Realm expert. Among all the people present, only the white-clothed female cultivator had a little confidence in Lin Feng. However, this confidence was also negligible. After all, Lin Feng was only a boundary Emperor Realm cultivator. A boundary Emperor Realm cultivator wanted to resist the attack of an Emperor Realm cultivator. It was simply daydreaming. Boom. At this moment, the Emperor Realm cultivator's terrifying punch had already arrived and was about to hit Lin Feng. At this moment, even the little confidence the white-clothed female cultivator had in Lin Feng disappeared. Everyone felt that. Chapter 34:10. Just when everyone thought that Lin Feng was dead for sure, Lin Feng attacked. He threw a punch at the opponent. Even in the face of the attack of an Emperor Realm expert, Lin Feng was still as calm as ever. In the past, the Red World Fairy had cultivated 3,000 types of 3,000 great Daos. It was very likely that she had also refined some powerful Emperor laws. Her combat strength was almost heaven-defying. Now, Lin Feng had cultivated 2,300 types of 3,000 great Daos. Although he was still 700 types of 3,000 great Daos away from the Red World Fairy's 3,000 types of 3,000 great Daos. But in reality, Lin Feng had cultivated enough 3,000 great Daos. One had to know, there were many cultivators. Before becoming an emperor, one only needed a few dozen types of 3,000 great Daos. However, Lin Feng had cultivated so many. In addition, Lin Feng had already refined 9 emperor laws. 10 god emperor laws. These laws could provide him with power that was so powerful that it made people pale in shock. At that moment, Lin Feng could kill gods and Buddhas if they tried to block his path. Bang! Accompanied by the sound of a violent collision. Everyone saw Lin Feng colliding with the Emperor Realm expert. Everyone thought that Lin Feng would be instantly killed, but it did not happen. Instead, the Emperor Realm expert was forced to retreat after colliding with Lin Feng. How is this possible? LV Wenjun was forced to retreat. Is that kid really only at the Quasi-Emperor Realm? A series of exclamations suddenly resounded. Everyone's expression was as if they had seen a ghost. They simply couldn't believe their own eyes. The cultivator who was fighting with Lin Feng was called LV Wenjun. She was at the 3rd heaven of the Emperor Realm. She had originally followed Tian Wuya into the 9 profound fallen immortal realm. However, after Tian Wuya and the others entered the 9 profound fallen immortal realm, they were attacked by some terrifying creatures in the 9 profound fallen immortal realm. In the end, LV Wenjun and Tian Wuya separated. Later, LV Wenjun joined forces with the other 6 emperors to enter this place. They let everyone know how terrifying LV Wenjun was. LV Wenjun had always been by Tian Wuya's side, so she had gained a lot of benefits over the years. Therefore, LV Wenjun was much stronger than cultivators of the same level. However, such a powerful LV Wenjun was actually no match for a young human cultivator like Lin Feng. It was truly inconceivable. No, this is absolutely impossible. LV Wenjun found it even more unacceptable. He was actually forced back by a young human cultivator in front of everyone. Just now, LV Wenjun cast a sidelong glance at Lin Feng. He did not put Lin Feng in his eyes at all. Looking at it now, it was really ironic. LV Wenjun roared angrily, "Brat, today I will definitely let you die without a burial ground." At this moment, LV Wenjun had completely lost her mind. After following Tian Wuya for such a long time, LV Wenjun felt that she was superior to others. Only he could humiliate others. How could he be humiliated by others? Being repelled by Lin Feng was a great humiliation to LV Wenjun. So no matter what, LV Wenjun had to regain her face. And from LV Wenjun's point of view, only by killing Lin Feng, only then could she regain her face. Whoosh! LV Wenjun quickly rushed towards Lin Feng, and endless holy light gushed out from his body. At this moment, LV Wenjun gave off an incomparably sacred feeling. Myriad divine Tao, billions of living beings, immortal law, destroy all worlds. LV Wenjun's cold voice suddenly rang out. He looked coldly at Lin Feng and said, "Brat, today, I will let you have a taste of the supreme divine ability passed down by the celestial race." Celestial race, the most ancient human race. The divine ability passed down by the celestial race would naturally be so powerful that it could not help but shock people. Now, LV Wenjun began to display the divine ability passed down by the celestial race. It was probably taught to this person by Tian Wuya. Heavenly Tao breaks all worlds. Suddenly, LV Wenjun roared. His body turned into eternal holy light and directly slashed towards Lin Feng. At that moment, LV Wenjun seemed to have become the only one in the world. The entire world. It was as if it was about to stop. Around, all the cultivators revealed looks of extreme shock. LV Wenjun's attack was really too powerful. It was indeed worthy of being the supreme divine ability passed down by the celestial race. Can that brat still withstand LV Wenjun's attack? The 5 great emperors could not help but think, because Lin Feng's battle strength was strong enough. Therefore, even though LV Wenjun had displayed extremely terrifying battle strength now, everyone was not sure if LV Wenjun could defeat Lin Feng. The female cultivator in white narrowed her eyes at Lin Feng as if she wanted to see through Lin Feng. LV Wenjun's attack was about to hit Lin Feng. At this moment, Lin Feng displayed an unparalleled divine ability. With a thought, flowers bloomed and the sovereign descended. It was the supreme inheritance that originated from the mysterious demon lord. This was definitely one of the most terrifying techniques since ancient times. After Lin Feng displayed this divine ability, he seemed to have turned into an invincible demon lord. With a look, it was as if he could destroy the world in all directions. Lin Feng directly swept his fist towards the holy light that LV Wenjun had transformed into. Bang! Accompanied by a violent collision sound, Lin Feng and LV Wenjun collided once again. Everyone saw that Lin Feng's punch directly shattered the endless holy light. LV Wenjun was beaten back to his original form. Oh my god! Has the celestial race's inheritance been destroyed by that brat? The 5 great emperors who were watching the battle could not help but be shocked. They could not believe their eyes. Seeing Lin Feng's divine ability, the woman in white was also very shocked. Lin Feng's attack did not end there. Lin Feng was naturally very clear about the logic of beating a drowning dog. Take his life while he was sick. Therefore, after LV Wenjun's divine ability was broken by Lin Feng followed like a shadow and quickly arrived beside LV Wenjun. Then, his fist continued to bombard LV Wenjun. Lin Feng's tyrannical punch directly swept across LV Wenjun's body. Crack, crack. The sound of bones cracking could be heard. Countless bones in LV Wenjun's body were broken by Lin Feng's punch. Puff, puff. LV Wenjun vomited large mouthfuls of blood. His face was as pale as paper. He had already suffered internal injuries from Lin Feng's attack. His combat strength plummeted. Is this your strength? You dare to jump around in front of me with this little strength? You really don't know what death is. Lin Feng stepped on the 7 stars and punched towards LV Wenjun again. LV Wenjun felt the aura of death enveloping his body. He felt a deep killing intent from Lin Feng. LV Wenjun knew. Lin Feng really wanted to kill him. It was not as simple as just saying, "My master is young Master Tian Wuya of the celestial race. If you dare to kill me, you are dead meat." LV Wenjun used Tian Wuya to threaten Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng did not care about LV Wenjun's threat. Chapter 34:11. I'll fight it out with you. Seeing that Lin Feng had no intention of letting him go, LV Wenjun's eyes flashed with a ferocious light. No matter what, LV Wenjun was also an emperor-level expert. Although he had been injured by Lin Feng, his combat strength was still very strong. LV Wenjun's eyes were filled with dense killing intent. At this moment, his body began to burn. LV Wenjun seemed to have turned into a flaming man. He was burning his life source to increase his combat strength. However, even though LV Wenjun had burned his life source to increase his combat strength, he was still no match for Lin Feng. Lin Feng seemed to have turned into an immortal god fiend. He was invincible. No matter who came to fight him, they were destined to die. Lin Feng still punched at LV Wenjun. Bang! The 2 sides collided again. This time, Lin Feng showed his might. LV Wenjun's body exploded. His body and soul were destroyed on the spot. Too cruel. The other 5 great emperors couldn't help but gasp. The combat strength Lin Feng displayed had deeply shocked them. The 5 great emperors' cultivation was on par with LV Wenjun's. If there was anyone who could defeat LV Wenjun, no one dared to say such a thing. However, LV Wenjun was killed by Lin Feng so easily. Why aren't you scramming? Do you want to end up like LV Wenjun? Lin Feng couldn't help but say coldly. The 5 great emperors were naturally furious when they were reprimanded by a young cultivator like Lin Feng. The 5 of them joined forces. They weren't necessarily afraid of Lin Feng. However, they weren't willing to fight to the death with Lin Feng. Even if they killed Lin Feng, they felt that they would probably lose a few people on their side. The 5 great emperors couldn't help but snort coldly and quickly leave. Lin Feng looked at the woman in white and said indifferently, "Fairy, why aren't you leaving?" The woman in white said, "You're not a simple person. I underestimated you before." Lin Feng smiled faintly and didn't say much. He knew that the female cultivator was not simple. Her cultivation was unfathomable. Furthermore, her origins were extremely mysterious. Previously, she had been surrounded by so many black fog creatures, yet she was still able to escape unscathed. From this, one could tell just how astonishing this woman's methods were. Lin Feng knew that this woman had stayed behind because she had something to tell him. This made Lin Feng very curious. He didn't know what this woman wanted to say to him. The female cultivator continued, "Perhaps we can cooperate once." Cooperation? Lin Feng looked at the female cultivator in surprise and asked, "What kind of cooperation do you want?" "There might be something shocking in the Jioshuan fallen immortal realm." The woman in white said, "Divine scepter?" Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. He thought of the divine scepter from before. It was indeed an extremely extraordinary treasure. Of course not. Perhaps it's even more extraordinary than the divine scepter. It's somewhere in the Jioshuan fallen immortal realm. That place is too dangerous. If I enter it with you, we can look out for each other." The woman in white said. Lin Feng said curiously, "I'm really curious. What exactly is this thing you're talking about?" "Once you see it, you'll know. It's even more amazing than you can imagine." The woman in white said. Lin Feng asked, "What's your name?" The woman in white couldn't help but be taken aback. She had just been discussing cooperation with Lin Feng. Now, Lin Feng was asking her for her name. Wasn't his train of thought jumping a little too quickly? "Is that important?" the woman in white asked. Lin Feng said, "I'm just curious." The woman in white said, "Lu Ruoxin." "Lu Ruoxin? That's your name?" Lin Feng asked. "Yes." The woman in white replied, "You're beautiful. Your name is beautiful too." Lin Feng said, "Don't say such words to deceive ordinary girls in front of me." The woman in white said. Lin Feng said, "I'm not trying to deceive you. I'm just speaking the truth, because you're really beautiful." The woman in white didn't answer Lin Feng's question. Lin Feng didn't feel awkward. He continued asking, "I heard that you're related to the undying realm. I wonder if the rumors are true?" "There are many things that are both true and false. Perhaps we don't need to care about whether they're true or false at times." The woman in white said, "That's very reasonable." Lin Feng nodded and said, "I can cooperate with you, but that'll have to wait until I've refined the martial talisman. Therefore, I'll have to trouble you to stand guard outside for me for now. If anyone dares to disturb my cultivation, I'll have to trouble you to chase them out." After hearing Lin Feng's words, Lu Ruoxin couldn't help but roll her eyes. She actually became Lin Feng's guard, and Lin Feng actually had the nerve to make such a request. Truly, shameless people were invincible. "You'd better hurry up. Don't waste everyone's time," Lu Ruoxin said angrily. Then, she flew outside without looking back. Lin Feng looked at the holy flame toad. He flew toward the holy flame toad. However, the holy flame toad emitted an extremely terrifying aura that suppressed Lin Feng. Lin Feng used his haki to resist the terrifying aura emitted by the holy flame toad. Finally, he approached the holy flame toad. At this moment, the holy flame toad's body was burning. A powerful existence like the holy flame toad wouldn't allow others to touch its body. Therefore, it would leave a backup plan. When others were about to touch its body would self-destruct. Such a situation. It wasn't the first time Lin Feng saw it. When the holy flame toad's body was completely burned to ashes, only two things were left. The first thing was the third fire demon talisman. As for the second item, it was a piece of bronze fragment. After seeing the bronze fragment, Lin Feng couldn't help showing a surprised expression. He temporarily put away the 3 fire demon talismans. Then, Lin Feng picked up the bronze fragment. He carefully studied the bronze fragment. Lin Feng found that the surface of the bronze shard was actually covered with dense patterns. When Lin Feng tried to sense the bronze fragment with his divine thought, Lin Feng suddenly felt an extremely hot aura enveloping his body. He felt that his soul was about to be pulled into a mysterious world. As for that mysterious world, it was pitch black, in the depths of the endless darkness. Instead, it was occupied by a ball of black flames. Heaven fire. Lin Feng was surprised. His divine thought returned to his body. Lin Feng looked at the bronze fragment in surprise. If he didn't guess wrong, the whereabouts of the heaven fire that the holy flame toad couldn't refine. Chapter 34:12. In the past, the holy flame toad was so powerful that it was only one step away from entering the immortal realm. However, Even such a powerful holy flame toad had suffered a backlash from the heavenly fire. From this, one could see how terrifying the heavenly fire was. However, Lin Feng guessed that although the holy flame toad had suffered a backlash, it hadn't died immediately. Therefore, the holy flame toad must have engaged in an intense battle with the heavenly fire. Therefore, Lin Feng felt that the heavenly fire's fire spirit had most likely been killed by the holy flame toad. Perhaps only the heavenly fire's origin was left. If that was the case, it couldn't be better. If only the heavenly fire's origin was left, it would be much easier for Lin Feng to refine it. If the heavenly fire's fire spirit was still there, it would be somewhat troublesome. Of course, Lin Feng was powerful and daring. Even if the heavenly fire's fire spirit was still there, it might not be impossible to deal with it. After all, in the battle back then, even if the heavenly fire's fire spirit wasn't killed by the holy flame toad, it would have been severely injured. Existences like the heavenly fire's fire spirit were different from cultivators. Cultivators recovered faster from injuries. However, the heavenly fire's fire spirit was born from heaven and earth. Moreover, it had been nurtured for countless years before it was finally born. Therefore, once the heavenly fire's fire spirit was injured, it would be extremely difficult for it to recover. This heavenly fire is a black heavenly fire. Demon Lord, among the 72 types of heavenly fire, is there such a black heavenly fire? Lin Feng transmitted his voice to the Demon Lord, asking the Demon Lord to sense the bronze fragment. The Demon Lord was very knowledgeable, so he might have heard of it. The Demon Lord's divine sense invaded the bronze fragment. Then, the Demon Lord pondered for a moment and said, "A completely black heavenly fire that even evolved into a black space. Could this heavenly fire be the 5th-ranked extreme demonic fire?" Extreme demonic fire? What's so special about this heavenly fire? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask curiously. A heavenly fire that could rank so high was definitely extraordinary. However, Lin Feng didn't know anything about this extreme demonic fire. He didn't understand it. The Demon Lord said, "This is a kind of heavenly fire born from the power of extreme Yin. Rumor has it that this kind of heavenly flame has killed many sentient life forms." Hearing this, Lin Feng couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. What a tyrannical ability this extreme devil fire had. It had actually refined quite a few sentient life forms to death. It seemed like they had their heyday in the past. Has no one ever subdued the extreme devil fire before? Lin Feng asked. The Demon Lord shook his head and said, "The extreme demonic flame was refined by Qiyu in the past." Hiss! Lin Feng couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Qiyu? This was an illustrious existence. It was a terrifying being that made the heavens and earth lose their color and the sun and moon lose their light. Now, Qiyu's evil deeds back then were being spread throughout the universe. They said that it was Qiyu who brought chaos to the world. Later, the Yellow Emperor and the Flame Emperor joined forces to defeat Qiyu. In the end, Qiyu fell. Only then did the chaos subside. Whether or not this rumor was true, Lin Feng didn't know yet. However, from the various rumors, it seemed that the evaluation of Qiyu wasn't very high. Of course, no one could deny Qiyu's strength. He was definitely an existence that stood at the pinnacle of cultivation. Even the Yellow Emperor and the Flame Emperor, the ancestors of the human race, had to join forces to contend against Qiyu. From this point, one could see how powerful Qiyu had been back then. Lin Feng was so shocked that Qiyu had refined this kind of skyfire. If it were someone else who had refined it, Lin Feng might not have been so shocked. I heard that Qiyu was enraged when he saw the extreme demonic fire wreaking havoc in the world. Many sentient life forms were killed by the extreme demonic fire. He was killed by the extreme demonic fire himself. After that, Qiyu refined the extreme demonic fire. I guess after Qiyu's death, the extreme demonic fire gave birth to a new fire spirit. When the holy flame toad refined the extreme demonic fire, it should have faced the fire spirit that was born from the extreme demonic fire. The Demon Lord said, "These skyfires were extremely special. The fire spirit was equivalent to the soul of the skyfire. After the fire spirit was destroyed, The Skyfire could still give birth to a new fire spirit after a long time. Under normal circumstances, a heavenly fire with a fire spirit was many times stronger than a heavenly fire without a fire spirit. Isn't this Chiyu an evil demon? Shouldn't he clap his hands and cheer when he saw the extreme devil fire killing the innocent? Why would he take the initiative to destroy the extreme devil fire? Lin Feng said in surprise. Yao Jun said, "It's hard to say who's right and who's wrong for what happened countless years ago. Chiyu may have indeed fought with Yellow Emperor and Yin Emperor, but the later generations have no way of knowing the specifics. It's only the later generations who painted Chiyu as an unpardonable evil demon, not the people of that era." Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. He felt that the demon lord's words had a hidden meaning. Moreover, recently, the demon lord gave Lin Feng a more and more mysterious feeling. It was as if there were no secrets in the world that the demon lord didn't know. Lin Feng still remembered that the demon lord was one of the 72 realm lords of the Undying Realm. He belonged to the ancient era, but the existence of the ancient era shouldn't know much about the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors Chiyo's era. But the demon lord, why did he know so much? And it seemed to be reminding him of something, intentionally or unintentionally. Lin Feng suppressed the doubts in his heart. The demon lord wouldn't say. If he asked, the demon lord still wouldn't say. This point, Lin Feng was very clear. Therefore, Lin Feng simply didn't ask the demon lord about those things. Lin Feng put away the bronze fragment that recorded the clues of the extreme devil fire. Then, Lin Feng took out 3 fire demon talismans. The 3 fire demon talismans floated in the air. Then, gradually, they fused together. Each of the 3 fire demon talismans emitted violent fluctuations. In the end, the 3 fire demon talismans began to gradually fuse together. Lin Feng's face revealed a look of joy. 2 hours later, the 3 fire demon talismans were successfully fused, and Lin Feng grabbed the fused fire demon talisman. Then, he began to circulate the immemorial dragonesque elephant art to absorb the energy in the fire demon talisman. The energy in the fire demon talisman was continuously absorbed by Lin Feng. Then, all the energy merged into Lin Feng's devouring martial spirit. A loud rumbling sound could be heard. In Lin Feng's dantian, the 5 devouring martial spirits began to circulate on their own. Every time it circulated, it would shake out a power that could destroy the heavens and the earth. This was a martial spirit that originated from the Sovereign Emperor clan. The 5 devouring martial spirits distorted the void and began to fuse together. After the 5 devouring martial spirits fused together, they absorbed the energy in the fire demon talisman even more crazily. Chapter 34:13. These mysterious figures all had extraordinary origins. They were all the ancestors of the Sovereign Emperor clan. One of them was shrouded in endless darkness, creating the heaven-devouring demonic art. That existence, it was the heaven-devouring demonic emperor of the Sovereign Emperor clan. That existence stood tall in the sky. He had an imposing aura, and a single look from him seemed capable of collapsing 100,000 worlds. That existence, he was the ancestor of the Sovereign Emperor clan who had punched through the Undying Realm. That existence stood in the void, as though he had transformed into an eternal sovereign. Even the gods and immortals had to bow down to him. That existence was the master of gods. He was the first person of the post-Shintian life form era to create a new cultivation system. One ancient existence after another appeared. They stood in the black hole and looked at Lin Feng. They were all looking at him with eager eyes. They were all looking at him with deep emotions. When Lin Feng saw them, tears welled up in his eyes. These were all his ancestors. At this moment, a woman walked out from the depths of the black hole. She was so beautiful. She looked at Lin Feng with a gentle gaze. She seemed to be saying to Lin Feng, my child, you've suffered all these years." She was Lin Feng's mother. Finally, even the Sovereign Emperor clan's first primogenitor appeared. The first ancestor of the great imperial clan was standing in the black hole, looking at Lin Feng encouragingly. Lin Feng was the continuation of their bloodline. He was the hope of the Sovereign Emperor clan's future. Vaguely, Lin Feng seemed to hear a voice from his bloodline. No matter how difficult it is, don't give up. You must persevere. When that voice resonated in the atmosphere, Lin Feng's absorbing spirit started to change again. This time, Lin Feng felt something. His devouring martial soul began to split. Rumble, rumble. A violent sound echoed through the clouds. Lin Feng's devouring martial soul split into a new devouring martial soul. This was Lin Feng's sixth devouring martial soul. However, after the sixth devouring martial spirit was formed, there was no more seventh devouring martial spirit. Perhaps it was because the fire demon talisman was ranked relatively low among the martial talismans. Therefore, it was impossible for Lin Feng's martial soul to continue splitting. Or perhaps it was because Lin Feng's martial soul was too powerful. Therefore, the Fire Devil Talisman could only help Lin Feng split his martial soul once. However, even if it was only the devouring martial spirit, it would still be very powerful. Lin Feng was already very satisfied. After finishing his cultivation, Lin Feng couldn't help but let out a long sigh. He quickly got up and flew outside. Lu Ruoxin was guarding the entrance out of boredom. Seeing Lin Feng fly over, he said, "Let's go. We've already been delayed for a long time. We need to hurry." Lin Feng nodded and quickly flew outside with Lu Ruoxin. Lu Ruoxin was indeed a top beauty. Up close, her beauty was truly indescribable. It was enough to compete with 100 flowers. She was definitely a rare beauty. In addition to her powerful cultivation, Lu Ruoxin was definitely a goddess among goddesses. However, this goddess had an ice-cold look on her face, as if she didn't want anyone to get close to her. Even though Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin had reached an agreement to cooperate. However, Lu Ruoxin still had an ice-cold look on her face when facing Lin Feng. Lin Feng was already used to it. When they left, they were attacked by the stone bats. Fortunately, the two of them had extraordinary means, and they managed to shake off the stone bats that were chasing after them. The stone bats seemed to be confined in the cave, and they couldn't get too far away from the cave with the mural. "Did you see the mural?" Lin Feng asked. What are you trying to say?" Lu Ruoxin said coldly. She didn't give Lin Feng any face. Lin Feng said, "I suddenly have a feeling that the stone pagoda on the mural seems to be in the 9 profound fallen immortal domain." "Why do you say that?" Lu Ruoxin couldn't help but ask doubtfully. She didn't know where Lin Feng got this feeling from. Lin Feng said, "Intuition." Lu Ruoxin couldn't help but roll her eyes. She said, "I have a feeling that someone will be able to live forever in the future." "Oh?" Lin Feng looked at Lu Ruoxin in surprise and asked, "Who do you think will be able to live forever?" "Myself," Lu Ruoxin said. Lin Feng pursed his lips. Lu Ruoxin said in all seriousness, "A woman's sixth sense is usually very strong." Lu Ruoxin said. Lin Feng could only smile bitterly. Clearly, Lu Ruoxin was using her words to support Lin Feng's earlier words. However, Lin Feng hadn't lied to Lu Ruoxin. He really did have a feeling. The stone pagoda was in the 9 profound fallen immortal domain, but Lin Feng didn't know why he had such a feeling. It was a very strange feeling. Lu Ruoxin clearly didn't believe Lin Feng's intuition. Lin Feng didn't say anything else. After the two of them flew out of the cave, they flew toward the depths of the 9 profound fallen immortal domain. They were very careful because the 9 profound fallen immortal domain was extremely dangerous. The slightest carelessness could lead to death, so they had to be very careful. Lin Feng didn't want to die young. The 9 profound fallen immortal domain was filled with continuous mountain ranges. When the two of them arrived at the 70th mountain, they still hadn't reached the deepest part of the 9 profound fallen immortal domain. A mountain range. It stretched for more than 10 miles, or even dozens of miles. No one knew how far the 9 profound fallen immortal domain extended. The 9 profound fallen immortal domain was a little too big. When they arrived at the 30th mountain, Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin saw several cultivators in the distance. They were all in the Great Emperor realm, and their strength was unfathomable. Since the 9 profound fallen immortal domain was an extremely dangerous place, most people would cross the mountains on foot instead of flying. If they flew in the air, they would be courting death. First of all, if they flew in the air, They would become the target of those terrifying creatures in the 9 profound fallen immortal domain. Second of all, there were terrifying restrictions everywhere in the 9 profound fallen immortal domain, and the restrictions in the air were especially powerful. If they flew in the air, they would directly face the attacks of those restrictions. It would be extremely dangerous. Just as the cultivators in front of them were about to cross the 30th mountain and head to the 31st mountain, suddenly, a streak of white light flashed through the forest. Its speed was simply too fast. It was so fast that Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin couldn't see what it was. The great Emperor Realm cultivators in front of them didn't have any reaction and disappeared without a trace. It's a ferocious beast. It swallowed several great emperors. Lin Feng's voice trembled slightly. Those were several great Emperor Realm experts. They didn't even have time to react before they were swallowed by the white ferocious beast. It was unbelievable. Chapter 34:14. Let's leave quickly, Lin Feng said with a solemn expression. He beckoned Lu Ruoxin to leave this place as quickly as possible. That white light was too terrifying. If it were to attack the two of them, they would not be able to resist it. The speed of the attack was truly shocking. The two of them quickly left the area. Fortunately, the terrifying creature did not appear. Lin Feng said, "The 9 profound fallen immortal domain is extremely dangerous. The creatures here are exceptionally terrifying. Moreover, the deeper you go, the stronger the creatures will be. There might even be a king realm existence here." Lu Ruoxin nodded. She agreed with Lin Feng's words. A terrifying king realm existence had definitely appeared in the 9 profound fallen immortal domain. The owner of the white light earlier might be such a creature. They did not know what it was, but it was definitely powerful enough to make one's soul tremble. If anyone were to encounter such a creature, they probably wouldn't dare to say that they would be able to escape with their lives from that creature's attack. After changing their route, the two of them crossed the 30th mountain and continued toward the 31st mountain. At the 31st mountain, they saw a dozen great emperors fighting a firebird. Those great emperors seemed to have obtained something precious from the cave abode guarded by the firebird. The firebird was furious. It launched a frenzied attack on the group of great emperors. In the end, 5 of the great emperors were killed. The other 7, the remaining 7 escaped with injuries. The firebird shrieked in anger, its voice piercing to the ears. Those cultivators had thoroughly infuriated the firebird. However, the firebird seemed to be unable to leave the 31st mountain. Therefore, it could not chase after those cultivators who escaped. This allowed those people to escape. Otherwise, those people would have died under the attack of the firebird. In the end, the firebird returned to the cave abode. At this moment, Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin came out from their hiding place. "This place is really dangerous." Lin Feng could not help but sigh. If it's not dangerous, would it still be called the Life Forbidden Zone? Lu Ruoxin pouted. Lin Feng realized that Lu Ruoxin liked to tease him for no reason. However, a good man would not fight with a woman. As such, Lin Feng just smiled and didn't argue with Lu Ruoxin. The two of them also encountered several dangers along the way. Terrifying, ferocious beasts attacked them. Fortunately, Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin had extraordinary means. They managed to avoid the dangers many times. In the end, they arrived at the 49th mountain peak. When they arrived, it was already nighttime. The 9 mysterious fallen immortal domain was even more dangerous at night. Many terrifying creatures like to move around at night. 7 stars piercing sun. He pointed at the mountain. 9 was the extreme number. Avoid the 9th prince. Lu Ruoxin could not help but ask. Lin Feng said, "In that case, the place that fairy spoke of should be within the 49th mountain." Lu Ruoxin said, "That's right. It is indeed on this mountain. However, the only problem now is the 49th mountain. How do we determine where the entrance is? Do you have a token? If there's a token, it won't be difficult to confirm," Lin Feng said. Lu Ruoxin's eyes lit up when she heard that. She said, "Of course, there is a token. But how can we be sure?" Lu Ruoxin took out an item as she said that. Lin Feng looked at it carefully and found that it was a stone pendant. Lin Feng took the stone pendant and said, "Let's wait and see. Celestial being." Next, Lin Feng looked at the stone pendant. He immediately found out. There was a dragon and a phoenix carved on the front of the stone pendant. There were 2 words written on the back. Ahuang. Ahuang. This seems to be a name. Could it be that an old friend is already so romantic? He actually carved the name of his lover on the stone pendant? Lin Feng said in surprise. Ahuang. The demon lord's expression froze when he saw the stone pendant. Then, he shook his head slightly and sighed. He could not help but reveal a thoughtful look in his eyes. No one knew what he was thinking. Lu Ruoxin said, "The ancients naturally knew how to talk about love." Lin Feng began to draw the 8 trigrams. He wanted to use the innate 8 trigrams to deduce the location of the place that Lu Ruoxin mentioned. The stone pendant was the primer. Lin Feng placed the stone pendant in the center of the 8 trigrams. He began to deduce. Innate 8 trigrams, Lu Ruoxin said in surprise. Lin Feng glanced at Lu Ruoxin and said, "Fairy, you're really experienced and knowledgeable. With just one look, you can tell that I'm using the innate 8 trigrams technique. I'm really impressed." Lu Ruoxin said, "This innate 8 trigrams technique is mysterious and unpredictable. I've seen people using it before, but it's far from being as exquisite as yours. It seems that you've obtained a more complete innate 8 trigrams inheritance." The amount of information that Lu Ruoxin revealed was no small matter. It seemed that someone else had obtained Fushi's inheritance. However, the other party didn't seem to have obtained a lot of inheritance. It should only be a part of it. Lin Feng didn't say much and continued to deduce. In the end, Lin Feng deduced a result. He looked in the northwest direction and then pointed in that direction and said, "It should be in this direction, but I'm not sure where it is. Let's go and take a look," Lu Ruoxin said. Lin Feng nodded and handed the stone pendant with the words, "Ahuang," written on it to Lu Ruoxin. Lu Ruoxin held the stone pendant in her hand and walked towards the northwest with Lin Feng. Inside the demon bead, on the lonely grave, the demon lord's gaze was a little absent-minded. "Ahuang, Ahuang, Ahuang." He kept muttering Ahuang's name. The demon lord seemed to know this woman called Ahuang. His expression became a little sad. Lin Feng didn't know the change in the demon lord's expression inside the demon bead. He and Lu Ruoxin walked towards the northwest direction. The mountains were continuous. The 2 of them felt a terrifying aura spreading over. Not good. Lin Feng's expression suddenly changed. He grabbed Lu Ruoxin and used the heaven patching technique. He borrowed another chance from the heavens. Swish. Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin disappeared without a trace. At the same time as they disappeared, a white light suddenly appeared and flashed. It disappeared instantly. It's that terrifying existence. Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin's expressions became extremely ugly. Fortunately, Lin Feng's heaven patching technique was extraordinary. It saved Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin's lives. Chapter 34:15. "It hasn't left yet," Lin Feng said with a solemn expression. "What? It hasn't left yet?" Lu Ruoxin's expression changed slightly. She didn't sense that terrifying existence. Therefore, Lu Ruoxin thought that the terrifying existence had left. However, Lin Feng said that the terrifying existence hadn't left yet. Lu Ruoxin had seen Lin Feng's various extraordinary abilities. Therefore, she didn't doubt Lin Feng's words. Lin Feng nodded and said, "It should be watching us from a dark place. Unfortunately, I can't determine where it is hiding." That existence was simply too terrifying. With Lin Feng's ability, he couldn't determine the hiding location of that terrifying existence. It had to be said that the terrifying existence might have completely exceeded Lin Feng's imagination. That kind of existence. How powerful was its combat power? It was inestimable and unimaginable. Now, Lin Feng was facing a formidable enemy. The unknown was the most terrifying. As for the existence hidden in the dark, Lin Feng didn't know. It was the same for Lu Ruoxin. Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin both knew that they were in trouble. It was definitely a disaster to be targeted by that terrifying existence. However, until now, the 2 of them hadn't been able to think of a way to solve the crisis in front of them. Lin Feng had already performed the heaven patching technique. There was still the great death substitution technique left. In other words, he and Lu Ruoxin still had a chance to avoid death. Suddenly, Lin Feng felt that something was wrong. It was a kind of feeling from the bloodline, just like the special ability of the sudden inspiration. He could sense the arrival of danger. Sometimes, it was hard to explain with words why he had such a strong feeling. However, such a strong premonition was very important in many cases. It was a feeling of death. It was suffocating. Lin Feng grabbed Lu Ruoxin. This time, he performed the great death substitution technique. Then, he and Lu Ruoxin disappeared from where they were. This time, his disappearance was also very timely. The moment Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin disappeared, the white light reappeared. However, he missed. Lin Feng could feel the anger in the air. After missing twice in a row, the terrifying existence became extremely angry. The cliff on the right. The entrance should be there. At this moment, Lu Ruoxin suddenly spoke. She seemed to have sensed the location of the entrance to that mysterious place. Hearing this, Lin Feng pushed his speed to the limit. He grabbed Lu Ruoxin's jade-like hand and quickly dashed to the right. Lu Ruoxin's hand was very soft, but now was not the time to be distracted. The most important thing now was to escape. Whoosh! Suddenly, a mass of destructive energy descended from the sky and enveloped Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin. That ball of destructive energy should be the attack of that terrifying existence hiding in the dark. Feeling the power contained in the destructive energy, Lin Feng's face turned pale with fright. That ball of destructive energy was too terrifying. Even if it was an attack from an emperor, or even an immortal, Lin Feng would not have any doubts. Such an attack was so powerful that it would make one turn pale with fright. However, Lu Ruoxin summoned 2 miniature puppets at this time. The 2 miniature puppets quickly grew bigger. They turned into Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin respectively. That was the puppet technique, and it was an extremely advanced puppet technique. The 2 miniature puppets turned into Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin and quickly flew toward that ball of destructive energy. Something shocking happened at this time. That ball of destructive energy. It was attracted by the 2 miniature puppets turned into Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin. Then, the 2 balls of destructive energy directly bombarded the 2 miniature puppets turned into Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin. After seeing that, Lin Feng's face revealed an extremely shocked expression. Lu Ruoxin's puppet technique was really amazing. She could even take the initiative to attract the attack. It was Lin Feng's first time seeing such a puppet technique. Among all the puppet techniques, Lu Ruoxin's puppet technique could be considered the most powerful one. Lu Ruoxin's puppet technique helped Lin Feng and her to avoid a disaster. Lin Feng quickly rushed to the cliff that Lu Ruoxin mentioned. "It's down there," Lu Ruoxin said. Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin quickly flew down. After flying for about 100 meters, then they saw a cave. Then, both of their eyes suddenly lit up. Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin quickly entered the cave. "It's here," Lu Ruoxin said. The reason why they could confirm that it was this place was because Lu Ruoxin's stone pendant was emitting waves of energy. The stone pendant was equivalent to a token. Now, the token was emitting waves. It meant that the two of them had arrived at their destination. Is Empress Huang buried here? Inside the demon bead, the demon lord couldn't help but murmur. Lin Feng didn't know what had happened in the demonic bead. If he knew, Lin Feng would definitely be suspicious. Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin were looking outside from time to time because they were worried that the terrifying creature would chase after them. However, what made the two of them heave a sigh of relief was that the terrifying existence did not appear. Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin then walked into the depths of the cave. The cave was very long. After walking for an hour, a huge stone door appeared in front of them. The stone door blocked Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin's path. The stone door was densely covered with runes. Those runes were extremely complicated. Even though countless years had passed, those runes were still very powerful. However, those runes were still extremely powerful, and the fluctuations they emitted were extremely terrifying. Lin Feng studied the stone door for a while. After spending an entire day, he finally cracked the seal on the stone door. After the seal on the stone door was cracked, Lin Feng pushed open the stone door. A rotten smell gushed out from the stone door. That smell was nauseating. It was unknown how many years it had been since someone had entered this place. That was why the rotten smell was emitting. Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin entered the stone door and saw what was inside. Inside the stone door was an extremely huge cave dwelling. The cave dwelling seemed to be divided into several layers. Many jade scrolls were placed in the first layer. It was unknown what those jade scrolls contained. Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin quickly walked over. Lin Feng then picked up a scroll. However, he found that the scroll was already damaged. It had been too long, and the scroll couldn't be preserved. Lin Feng then picked up a jade scroll. Chapter 34:16. The content recorded in the jade tube shocked Lin Feng greatly, because what was recorded in the jade tube was actually an extremely terrifying supernatural power. This supernatural power was called Qiyu God-slaying art. Qiyu, one of the most terrifying existences since ancient times. His strength was simply unimaginable. He was definitely an earth-shattering figure. The Demon Lord once told him before. The rumors about Qiyu in the outside world might not be true. Many things that happened countless years ago were destined to become the past and history. And now, various interpretations of Qiyu. In fact, they were all compiled by the later generations. Therefore, Qiyu was not necessarily an unpardonable evil demon. Lin Feng knew the meaning of the Demon Lord's words. There was a deeper meaning hidden in the Demon Lord's words. But these were destined not to be what Lin Feng could understand at the moment. Now, Qiyu's inheritance actually appeared here. Lin Feng was greatly shocked. The owner of this place seemed to be called a Huang. Could it be that a Huang had something to do with Qiyu? If she had nothing to do with Qiyu, why would a Huang have Qiyu's inheritance here? Lin Feng suddenly thought of the mysterious stone pendant he saw from Lu Ruoxin. Could it be that the mysterious stone pendant was actually given to a Huang by Qiyu? Lin Feng had always been a person with a wild imagination. Therefore, at this moment, he thought of many possibilities. Were Qiyu and a Huang a pair of lovers in the past? Lin Feng was puzzled. He wondered if he could find some answers here. There were too many secrets in the world. Lin Feng was not interested in exploring many secrets. But for a terrifying existence like Qiyu, Lin Feng was still very interested in learning more. After all, Qiyu was a terrifying existence who could fight against the Yellow Emperor and the Yin Emperor when they joined forces. This Qiyu god-slaying art was definitely an extremely powerful and terrifying supernatural power. If he could cultivate it successfully, it would be heaven-defying. Lin Feng continued to check the other scrolls and jade tubes. He found almost all the scrolls had been destroyed. Time was enough to destroy everything. Time was the most terrifying power. Even those jade tubes. Only a very small number of jade cylinders were completely preserved. Many jade tubes were also destroyed by the power of time. However, the contents of those preserved jade tubes were extremely extraordinary. Lin Feng even saw the method to go to the demon realm in a jade tube. As the top world among the 3,000 worlds, the demon realm was a mysterious and powerful world. That place, it was ruled by the demon race. That place had the most powerful demon race forces and their bloodline. Apart from that, Lin Feng also saw some prescriptions and extremely powerful deployment spells. The contents of these preserved jade cylinders were varied, but the contents were all extraordinary. Lu Ruoxin Feng's time. Apparently, Lu Ruoxin had also discovered how shocking the information recorded in the jade tube was. Lin Feng was pleasantly surprised. A jade tube actually recorded a set of 3,000 Great Daos. This 3,000 Great Dao was called the Great Dark Night Art. It was a very extraordinary 3,000 Great Dao. Once it was used, day would turn into night in an extremely short period of time. And the cultivator who used the Great Darkness Art could hide in the dark night. They could become part of the night. It was an unimaginable ability. Of course, this was not the only ability that this divine ability gave the cultivator. There were many other abilities. For example, in the dark night, one's combat strength would increase explosively. These abilities would be obtained after the cultivator successfully cultivated the Great Darkness Art. Lin Feng had never cultivated the Great Darkness Art before. Lin Feng was very happy to be able to obtain this Great Darkness Art. Lin Feng continued to search for other jade tubes. He felt that he might be able to find more of the great darkness art. What Lin Feng wanted the most right now was not those powerful immortal arts, but rather some even more powerful divine abilities. Lin Feng wanted the great darkness art. In the end, Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin looked through all the jade tubes. Most of the jade tubes had been destroyed. Therefore, what was recorded in those jade tubes was destined to be a secret to Lin Feng and the others. However, Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin found enough shocking things in the jade tubes that could be checked. They found 245 types of the great darkness art. Unfortunately, Lin Feng had already studied most of the 3,000 great Tao skills. There were only 100 types of the great darkness art that Lin Feng had never cultivated. However, this already made Lin Feng very excited. He had already cultivated 2,300 types of the great darkness art. Now, adding the 100 types of the great darkness art that he had never cultivated before, Lin Feng had a total of 2,400 types of the great darkness art. Lin Feng thought, perhaps he could find 3,000 types of the great darkness art before he became an emperor? Originally, he didn't even dare to dream about this. But it was different now. Lin Feng had already obtained 2,400 types of the great darkness art. He was close to collecting all 3,000 types of the great darkness art. He was only one step away. Therefore, for Lin Feng, now, collecting all 3,000 types of the great darkness art didn't seem to be an impossible task. Apart from these 3,000 types of great darkness art, Lin Feng liked the Qiyu god-slaying art the most. This was the supreme ability passed down by Qiyu. If he could cultivate it successfully, it would definitely become a trump card. At the critical moment, it might be able to reverse the situation. Of course, Lin Feng also liked the dozen or so powerful killing arrays. Those killing arrays, they would definitely play a key role in the future, especially for a spirit array master like Lin Feng. Such a killing array, it could become a trump card. Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin made a copy of all the content provided. Then, the two of them each had a copy. The two of them collected the items. Then, they continued to search in the first cave. They couldn't find anything else. The two of them walked towards the depths of the cave. When they arrived at the second cave, Lin Feng saw a stone statue placed in the middle of the cave. This stone statue was a woman. This woman was extremely beautiful. It could still be vaguely seen. This woman was wearing a royal robe. This robe indicated the woman's extraordinary identity. A Huang. Lin Feng instantly thought of this name. It was the name on Lu Ruoxin's stone pendant. Emperor. It was an honorific. It represented supreme power. This woman was called a Huang. Could it be that countless years ago? Was she a female saint emperor? Lin Feng couldn't help but be extremely shocked when he thought of this possibility. An empress. She was definitely an invincible existence. What happened to this empress in the past? That stone pendant. Chapter 34:17. A Huang. A Huang. Inside the demonic orb, Demon Lord looked at a Huang with sadness in his eyes. He was muttering a Huang's name. However, a Huang was destined not to hear the Demon Lord's call. Do you know something about a Huang? Lin Feng could not help but look at Lu Ruoxin. He had a feeling that this woman knew something about a Huang. However, she did not tell Lin Feng anything about a Huang. She did not say anything. Lin Feng took the initiative to ask. After all, Lin Feng had nothing to be embarrassed about. What do you want to know? Lu Ruoxin asked calmly. Are a Huang and Qiyu lovers? Lin Feng asked. Lu Ruoxin rolled her eyes and said, Who said that a Huang and Qiyu are lovers? They do not belong to the same era. Oh, it seems like you know something about Qiyu and a Huang. Can you tell me more about them? Lin Feng said. Lin Feng had always been the kind of person who would ask questions whenever he did not know anything. He would never be embarrassed to ask about these things because of his reputation. Lu Ruoxin said. You should have heard a lot about Qiyu. Lin Feng said. But legends might not be true. Is Qiyu really as evil as the legends say? Lu Ruoxin raised her eyes and said, Rumor has it that Qiyu can control demons and beasts. Qiyu himself has 8 legs, 3 heads, and 6 arms. He has a copper head and an iron forehead. He is invulnerable. However, this rumor is not true. The real Qiyu in history is actually a human. Oh, Qiyu is a human? Lin Feng was shocked. This was the first time he had heard of such a thing. The infamous evil demon Qiyu. The Yellow Emperor and Yin Emperor defeated him. Qiyu was actually a human. Lu Ruoxin continued. That's right. You didn't hear it wrong. Qiyu is indeed a human. It goes back to the tribal era. There's a clear gap between the human forces and other forces. At that time, the three emperors had already fallen, and the forces that the human race had painstakingly united once again fell apart. It was difficult to survive in troubled times, so the new Saint Emperor, the Yellow Emperor, wanted to unify the human race. Qiyu refused to be controlled by the Yellow Emperor. Therefore, he started a war with the Yellow Emperor. At that time, Qiyu was the god of war. He was extremely powerful. He also wanted to lead the human race to glory. Therefore, when the Yellow Emperor and the Yin Emperor fought against Qiyu, there was no difference between good and bad. Their goal was the same: to defeat the other party, make the other party submit, become the new leader of the human race, and lead the human race to survive in this chaotic world. The more Lin Feng listened, the more shocked he became. Qiyu, who had been recited for tens of thousands of years. Qiyu, who was cursed by countless people. To think that he had been wronged all this time. To be honest, Qiyu. In fact, he was also the ancestor of the human race. Lu Ruoxin said sarcastically, the funny thing is, after countless years, everyone thought that Qiyu was an evil demon. They couldn't even remember who their ancestors were. It's not without reason that the human race was declining. Lin Feng retorted, the human race has indeed made many mistakes in its history, but this race is diligent, kind, warm-hearted, optimistic, tenacious, and unyielding. This race has many good points. Lu Ruoxin did not continue. Indeed, although the human race had declined, this race did have many good points that other races could learn from. Therefore, disaster after disaster. However, the human race had continued to survive. On the other hand, many of the more powerful races had disappeared one after another in the Great Wars. What about a Huang? Who is she? Is she the female Saint Emperor of the human race? Lin Feng continued to ask. A Huang is indeed an amazing woman. She is the lover of Emperor Shun, one of the 5 emperors of the human race. Lu Ruoxin said. The 5 emperors referred to the Central Emperor Yellow Emperor, the Eastern Emperor Qing Emperor, the Southern Emperor Red Emperor, the Western Emperor White Emperor, and the Northern Emperor Black Emperor. Emperor Shun was the Northern Emperor Black Emperor. After Emperor Shun fell, the era of the 5 emperors came to an end. The human race was once again faced with disintegration. A Huang replaced Emperor Shun in power and delayed the disintegration of the human race. Unfortunately, a Huang was destined to fail in uniting the human race. Lu Ruoxin said. As a woman, she seemed to hold a Huang in high esteem. Lin Feng said, so, she is Emperor Shun's woman. Could this be the place where a Huang used to live? Perhaps. The 9 profound fallen immortal realm did not belong to the 9 profound great world. It fell from the outer space. Therefore, some of the things in this place do not belong to the 9 profound great world. Lu Ruoxin said. Lin Feng had heard this from others before. Since so many people had said this, even Lu Ruoxin had said so. It seemed that the 9 profound fallen immortal realm had indeed fallen from the outer space. The 2 of them searched carefully in the second cave, hoping to find some valuable treasures. However, they searched many times. In vain. They found nothing. Let's go in and have a look, Lin Feng said, and walked deeper into the cave. Lu Ruoxin and Lin Feng also walked deeper into the cave. The demon lord appeared and stood alone in front of a Huang stone statue, gazing at her. He stretched out his hand. He wanted to touch a Huang gently, but in the end, the demon lord withdrew his hand. In the end, the demon lord sighed. His body gradually dissipated. After arriving at the third cave, Lin Feng saw a stone platform. On the stone platform, there were 2 things on it. One of them was an alchemy book iron certificate. The other item was a square seal. Since a Huang had placed these 2 things here, they must have an extraordinary origin. It's a Huang's imperial jade seal and Emperor Shun's alchemy book. Lu Ruoxin said in surprise. Oh, what kind of extraordinary origin do these two treasures have? Lin Feng could not help but ask in surprise. Looking at Lu Ruoxin's surprised expression, he knew that these two treasures were extraordinary. Huang's imperial jade seal was made by a Huang when she was in charge of the human race. Rumor has it that it represents the orthodoxy of the human race. It is said that Emperor Shun's alchemy book has 108 words. Emperor Shun personally searched for 9 heaven Xianyang immortal iron to make the alchemy book iron certificate. He then wrote the 108 words himself. Emperor Shun's alchemy book was infused with Emperor Shun's willpower. Lu Ruoxin said, "Good stuff. It's really good stuff." Lin Feng was also very surprised. "I want a Huang's imperial jade seal," Lu Ruoxin said. "I want Emperor Shun's alchemy book." Lin Feng smiled. As a man, he should naturally inherit the treasures left behind by Emperor Shun. The treasures left behind by a Huang were extraordinary, but a Huang was a woman. The treasures left behind might not be suitable for Lin Feng. "These two treasures belong to me." Chapter 34:18. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. When that voice faded away, one by one, figures flew over. Finally, they landed. A total of 9 people. The person in the lead was the heavenly human tribe cultivator, Tian Wuya. Tian Wuya had a noble status, equivalent to the prince of the Eastern Universe world. High and mighty, looking down on the world from the sidelines. Even sage emperors and emperor lords would have to give boundless heaven some face when they saw him. Who asked Tian Wuya's background to be so awesome? Those sage emperors and emperor lords could ignore Tian Wuya. However, they couldn't ignore the heavenly human tribe behind Tian Wuya. After the beginning of the new era, how many terrifying and powerful races had appeared in the past? Perhaps there were already countless of them. But with the passage of time, those major forces were eliminated by the river of time, no matter how powerful he was in the past. But now, it was all in the past. But the heavenly human clan was different. From the human clan in the tribal era to the Lich era, they had to endure hardships. After the Great Witch Demon War, controlling the heaven realm, from then on. Thus, it never declined again. No one knew just how powerful the heavenly human tribe was now. Even though he had experienced several great tribulations, the fact that the heavenly human tribe hadn't been annihilated was enough to show how terrifying the foundation of this tribe was. However, Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin simply ignored boundless heaven. "So what if you're a heavenly human tribe cultivator? I won't give a damn about you." Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin quickly arrived in front of the 2 supreme treasures. Lin Feng grabbed Emperor Shun's alchemy book. Meanwhile, Lu Ruoxin held the Huang imperial jade seal in her hand. When Lin Feng held the alchemy scripture in his hand, it suddenly released a mysterious force that poured into Lin Feng's body. That power. It seemed to be the inheritance of a bloodline power. Bloodline inheritance. Endless vitality. That kind of power made Lin Feng involuntarily have an impulse to roar towards the sky. That power greatly increased Lin Feng's battle prowess. At that moment, Lin Feng felt as if he was about to break through the shackles of his realm. He could no longer suppress the light of calamity in his glabella. Lin Feng was shocked. He had received the support of Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy. The Emperor Tribulation seemed to be about to descend. However, Lin Feng didn't want to transcend the tribulation right now. He had just obtained 100 types of 3,000 great Daos and had not had the time to cultivate them yet. Cultivating 2,300 types of 3,000 great Daos to transcend the Great Emperor Tribulation was obviously different from cultivating 2,400 types of 3,000 great Daos to transcend the Great Emperor Tribulation. Furthermore, even though Lin Feng had already practiced 2,400 types of the 3,000 great Tao, he didn't intend to use Culpa strength for the time being. He had already practiced 2,400 types of the 3,000 great Tao. There were only 600 of the 3,000 great Daos left to reach the 3,000. Why not learn from the Red World Fairy? Cultivating 3,000 types of great Daos before transcending the Great Emperor Tribulation? Lin Feng hurriedly circulated the archaic dragon-esque elephant art to suppress the light of calamity between his eyebrows. However, Lin Feng discovered that even the Archean dragon-esque elephant art could not suppress the light of calamity between his eyebrows. Hence, Lin Feng performed the 8 divine seals and the great suppression art. It was difficult to suppress the light of calamity between his eyebrows. It was really not easy. Lin Feng couldn't help but let out a long sigh. How dare you ignore me? Tian Wuya looked at Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin in disbelief. His expression was extremely ugly. Because this was the first time something like this had happened, Tian Wuya had even seen more than one Saint Emperor, and even Emperor Lord level experts. After those experts found out about his identity, Yi Zichen's expression changed. They were all very polite. But now, 2 young cultivators actually dared to ignore him. What angered Tian Wuya the most was that one of the 2 had not even broken through to the great Emperor realm. Such a cultivator was like an ant. They actually dared to ignore him. Wasn't this a slap to his face? Tian Wuya was really mad with anger. Tian Wuya, I know you. We should have met once back then. Lu Ruoxin suddenly said. You are. Tian Wuya narrowed his eyes and looked at Lu Ruoxin. So it's you. He recognized Lu Ruoxin's identity. Lin Feng was shocked. It was rumored that Lu Ruoxin was someone who had walked out of the undying world. Now, it seemed that it was really possible. Tian Wuya actually knew her. That's right. Now, I want this thing. You won't make an enemy out of me just because of this thing, right? Lu Ruoxin said very seriously. Tian Wuya's expression was gloomy. He didn't want to let Lu Ruoxin go, but when he thought about the power behind her, Tian Wuya said fiercely, Stop wasting time. Hurry up and leave. Lu Ruoxin glanced at Lin Feng and said, I'm also a clay Buddha crossing the river. I almost couldn't even save myself. You're on your own now. You have no sense of brotherhood. Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. Lu Ruoxin curled her lips and quickly left. She didn't have a deep relationship with Lin Feng. The 2 of them had only worked together for a short period of time. Since Lu Ruoxin had a way to leave, she naturally wouldn't stay and fight Tian Wuya and the others. There were many experts on Tian Wuya's side. Most importantly, Tian Wuya himself was an extremely terrifying existence. Lu Ruoxin naturally wouldn't continue to make an enemy out of Tian Wuya just because of Lin Feng. After Lu Ruoxin left, Lin Feng was left alone in the cave to face Tian Wuya and the others. A lowly human dares to snatch what this young master wants. You really don't know how to write the word death. Tian Wuya looked at Lin Feng with contempt. It was a kind of contempt that radiated from his bones. Said Lin Feng, smiling icily. Despicable humans? Are you scolding yourself? Are you cursing your ancestors? Hearing that, Tian Wuya's expression turned cold. He said coldly, Kid, what are you talking about? Lin Feng still had a calm expression. He said indifferently, What? Am I wrong? What's so great about the heavenly human tribe? The heavenly human tribe used to be a branch of the human race. Since you're using the word lowly to insult human cultivators, aren't you cursing yourself? You're also cursing your own ancestors. When those ancestors of the heavenly human tribe hear what you've said, they'll probably crawl out of their coffins one by one to see which unfilial descendant is cursing them. Lin Feng's ability to argue was second in the world. No one would dare to say they were first in the world. With just a few sentences, Tian Wuya was rendered speechless. Young master, there's no need to get angry over an ant. Your subordinate will take care of this kid for you. A great emperor cultivator said. Tian Wuya said coldly, Pull out his tendons and skin him. Put him to death by 1,000 cuts. Yes, young master. After receiving the order, the great emperor cultivator walked towards Lin Feng with a sinister smile. The great emperor cultivator was a monarch. He didn't think much of Lin Feng at all. Chapter 34:19. Brat, I hope you won't be crippled by my punch. The Imperial Emperor Realm Cultivator laughed sinisterly when he arrived beside Lin Feng. He threw a punch at Lin Feng. That powerful punch contained the power to destroy the heavens and earth. It directly enveloped Lin Feng and then brazenly attacked. The rest of the people watched all this with indifferent expressions. You're courting death. Lin Feng's expression was cold. Facing the attack of this Imperial Emperor Realm Cultivator, he threw a punch at this Emperor Realm Cultivator. This Imperial Emperor Realm Cultivator was only at the first heaven of the Imperial Emperor Realm. He was not taken seriously by Lin Feng at all. One had to know that although Lin Feng's cultivation had not broken through to the Emperor Realm, however, his savings were simply too powerful. With Lin Feng's savings, even if he was facing a third or fourth heaven of the Imperial Emperor Realm Cultivator, he would be invincible. Lin Feng had such confidence. Bang! Along with a violent collision sound, everyone saw Lin Feng colliding with the first heaven of the Imperial Emperor Realm Cultivator. The sound of bones cracking could be heard one after another. An unbelievable scene unfolded before everyone's eyes. Facing the opponent's attack, Lin Feng was safe and sound. As for the first heaven of the Imperial Emperor Realm Cultivator, his arm was directly broken. Lin Feng's attack did not weaken at all. After forcing the first heaven of the Imperial Emperor Realm Cultivator back, Lin Feng quickly stepped forward. An incomparably powerful punch. He continued to attack the Imperial Emperor level expert. Bang! Following that, Lin Feng's powerful punch landed on the chest of the first heaven of the Imperial Emperor Realm Cultivator. On the other hand, the chest of the first heaven Imperial Emperor Cultivator exploded. His flesh was mangled. He fell to the ground. He was already dead. The first heaven of the Imperial Emperor Realm Cultivator died tragically on the spot. After seeing this scene, everyone's face was filled with disbelief. An Emperor Realm Cultivator was killed by a quasi-Emperor Realm Cultivator with a single punch. It was simply too inconceivable. Even Tian Wuya was far from being able to do this back then. Tian Wuya was also a genius. Back then, when he was at the peak of the quasi-Emperor realm, he could fight against cultivators at the fourth or fifth heaven of the God Emperor realm. He hadn't even entered the Emperor realm, yet he was able to fight against Emperor realm cultivators. It could be said to be heaven-defying in any place. However, Tian Wuya's level back then was far from Lin Feng's current level. Therefore, when they saw Lin Feng displaying such heaven-defying battle prowess, Tian Wuya thought to himself. Suddenly, a deep sense of jealousy welled up in his heart. As for Lin Feng, he took out 3 stone swords before Tian Wuya and the others could react. The soldier incantation began to operate. Under the control of the weapon mantra, the power of the 3 stone swords was raised to the extreme. Then, the 3 stone swords all slashed towards Tian Wuya. The 3 stone swords shook the void. The void was almost shattered into pieces. The power was simply too tyrannical. Stone swords. You actually have stone swords. And 3 stone swords at that. Tian Wuya couldn't help but exclaim. Since this Tian Wuya was a heavenly human cultivator from the Undying Realm, then he definitely knew that Di Wudao had 9 stone swords. Perhaps Tian Wuya had seen Di Wudao's 9 stone swords before. This was also very likely. Therefore, now that Tian Wuya recognized Lin Feng's 3 stone swords, Lin Feng didn't find it strange. The 3 stone swords slashed through the void, shattering heaven and earth. The power was so strong that it moved people. This Tian Wuya's cultivation was incomparably terrifying. He opened his hand, and endless magic power surged out. An illusory world formed, and that illusory world suppressed the 3 stone swords. Tian Wuya wanted to suppress Lin Feng's 3 stone swords. Emperor's sect. Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. Originally, Lin Feng had always thought that Tian Wuya's cultivation was at the Emperor realm. Moreover, he was at the early stage of the Emperor realm. But who would have thought that Tian Wuya had actually concealed his cultivation? This person. He was an Emperor sect expert. He had only cultivated for 100 years. He had actually cultivated to the Emperor sect realm, as expected of a cultivator from the huge, heavenly human tribe. The young elites nurtured by the heavenly human tribe were indeed very heaven-defying. This was something that one couldn't help but admire. Of course. So what if he was at the Emperor sect realm? It was simply impossible to suppress the stone swords. Under Lin Feng's control, the stone swords displayed heaven-defying power. The stone swords destroyed Tian Wuya's attack and quickly slashed towards him. Tian Wuya's face darkened slightly. He hurriedly tore through the void and left quickly, dodging the stone sword's attack. Lin Feng didn't continue to attack Tian Wuya. Tian Wuya had the advantage in numbers, and Tian Wuya himself was actually an Emperor Sect realm cultivator. His cultivation base was simply too much higher than Lin Feng's. To think that he could rely on his own strength to fight against Tian Wuya and the other experts, it was simply an impossible thing to be completely right. Swoosh! After Lin Feng collected the 3 stone swords, he quickly flew outside. Tian Wuya appeared from the void 20 meters away, his face extremely dark. Chase after him. He took the lead and chased after Lin Feng. The rest of the people followed closely behind. After Lin Feng rushed out of the cave, he directly threw dozens of jade talismans into the cave. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A loud sound shook the heavens and the earth. The jade talismans exploded. The mountain collapsed. Tian Wuya and the others were instantly buried in it. Lin Feng quickly left the area. After Lin Feng was a distance away, Tian Wuya and the others rushed out. They broke out of the ruins. Right now, they looked extremely wretched. If not for their powerful cultivation bases, they would have been crushed by the mountains in the 9 profound fallen immortal realm. They would have most likely died. Because the mountains in the 9 profound fallen immortal realm were also filled with restrictions. When the mountains collapsed, it would affect the whole situation. It was definitely not something as simple as a mountain collapsing. There were many other things involved. There might even be many unexpected dangers. Because of this, once a cultivator was crushed by the mountains in the 9 profound fallen immortal realm, there was a high chance that they would die. Lin Feng stood in the distance and saw Tian Wuya and the others rushing out of the ruins. Tian Wuya's face was extremely pale, his hatred overflowing. Search. You must find that brat. This young master will grind that brat's bones to dust. Tian Wuya said viciously. Yes, young master. After the others received the order, they split up to search for Lin Feng's whereabouts. Lin Feng didn't appear. He found a hidden place to rest. Chapter 3420. Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy was filled with runes. Those runes. They should have been written by Emperor Shun. Apart from those runes, the most mysterious thing was naturally the 108 ancient characters. What are these characters? What do these 108 characters mean? Lin Feng couldn't help but wonder. He didn't recognize the 108 ancient characters on Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy. Demon Lord. Look at the ancient characters on Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy. Do you recognize them? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. Whoosh! A light flashed. The Demon Lord flew out from the Demon Orb. At this time, an extremely shocking scene occurred. When the Demon Lord flew out, for some reason, Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy emitted rays of divine light. Then, Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy flew to the Demon Lord's side and circled around the Demon Lord. As if a long-lost relative had met. What's going on? Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy is very close to the Demon Lord? Lin Feng couldn't help but be puzzled. This should be the first time Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy met the Demon Lord. Why would Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy fly to the Demon Lord's side? Lin Feng couldn't help but ponder. The Demon Lord held Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy in his hand, as if he was holding a sacred item. He gently stroked Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy. His eyes were looking at the ancient characters. For a long time, he didn't speak. Could it be that the Demon Lord has seen Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy before? That can't be right. Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy has always been in Ahuang's cave. Logically speaking, the Demon Lord definitely hasn't seen Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy before. But why is there something wrong with Emperor Shun's Book of Alchemy and the Demon Lord? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter. His heart was filled with countless doubts. But Lin Feng knew the Demon Lord's character. If he wanted to tell Lin Feng didn't ask. The Demon Lord would naturally speak. If he didn't want to tell Lin Feng, even though he did ask, the Demon Lord wouldn't say anything either. Since he knew this, Lin Feng did not intend to tell the Demon Lord about his doubts. Demon Lord, do you recognize these ancient characters? Lin Feng asked again. The Demon Lord's thoughts seemed to have been pulled back to reality by Lin Feng. He looked at Lin Feng and said, "These ancient characters record a sacrificial speech. Words of sacrifice? Could it be some kind of sacrificial technique? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask curiously. It can't be considered a divine ability, but through sacrifice, it can communicate with some great beings in the unseen world. The Demon Lord said. What are those great existences? Lin Feng asked curiously. The Demon Lord said, perhaps when you can truly control the Shun Emperor's alchemy book in the future, you will know. The Demon Lord didn't continue. The Shun Emperor's alchemy book hid a great secret, but that required Lin Feng to comprehend. The Shun Emperor's alchemy book was indeed too extraordinary. Wanting to comprehend its secrets was not an easy task. Lin Feng was also very clear about this point. At night, a destructive aura filled the world. After feeling the destructive aura, Lin Feng's face couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression. What kind of creature could emit such a terrifying aura? Of course, it could also be some unknown thing that emitted such a terrifying aura. But as for what it was, Lin Feng didn't know. When that aura was emitted, between heaven and earth, everything became so quiet. It was so quiet that it made people feel a little manic. Lin Feng still stayed in the place of seclusion and didn't come out. He just looked through a gap and looked into the depths of the Joshuan fallen immortal domain. This place was too dangerous. There were many unknown and terrifying things or creatures. Rumble, rumble, rumble. In the latter half of the night, the earth shook violently. The mountains were also constantly shaking. It was like a big earthquake had occurred. There were no sounds of insects, birds, or beasts. All the sounds between heaven and earth seemed to have disappeared. Lin Feng felt that he was about to suffocate. That kind of feeling was really terrible. What the hell is going to happen? Lin Feng couldn't help but murmur to himself. He didn't know what was going to happen, but Lin Feng knew one thing. That was, what was about to happen would be incomparably terrifying. The mountains shook and the earth trembled. This situation continued until dawn arrived. When the sky was completely bright, everything returned to normal. Lin Feng walked out of the place of seclusion and looked into the depths. Lin Feng's face was immediately filled with a stunned expression. He couldn't even believe what his eyes were seeing. In the depths, a stone tower that was at least 100 meters tall appeared. 100 meters tall wasn't particularly tall, but the stone tower gave people the feeling that it was as majestic as a mountain. Heavy, oppressive, suffocating. That stone tower. It was emitting an aura that made people feel like they were going crazy. It's that stone tower. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. The stone tower that had appeared in the mural. It was so similar to the stone tower in the Joshuan fallen immortal domain. The stone tower that had mysteriously disappeared after being shrouded in black fog had actually appeared here. It was really unbelievable. The stone tower in the mural used to be an extremely evil tomb. Back then, the creatures who built the stone tower sacrificed so many people without hesitation. Who was buried in the stone tower? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. The stone tower was very mysterious. No one knew who was buried in it. Perhaps only the creatures that had built the stone tower in the past knew. The outside of the stone tower was surrounded by dense runes. Many runes. They emitted a power that made one's soul tremble. Incredible. The runes on the stone tower are incredible. If I can comprehend them, it will greatly increase my battle prowess. Lin Feng couldn't help but be moved. The stone tower was shrouded in a layer of gray mist. That kind of gray fog. It emitted a power that made people shudder. Before entering the stone tower, Lin Feng felt a deep sense of fear just by sensing the stone tower's aura. It was a feeling of fear. It was a fear that came from the depths of one's soul. Countless years have passed. What happened to the stone tower's master? Has his body already decayed? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. Time was merciless and could destroy everything. In Lin Feng's opinion, the stone tower's master was no exception. It was only a matter of time before he was destroyed. In the Joshuan fallen immortal domain, there were cultivators rushing toward the stone tower from all directions. The stone tower was too extraordinary. Even though these cultivators hadn't seen the mural's contents, they only needed to sense the stone tower's aura to know how extraordinary it was. Lin Feng also moved towards the stone tower at full speed. Chapter 34:21. Cultivators arrived one after another and lingered around the stone pagoda. They did not approach the stone pagoda rashly. The stone pagoda had just appeared. They were now approaching the stone pagoda. Obviously, it was not a wise move. Therefore, many people planned to observe for a while before considering entering the stone pagoda. Lin Feng also had the same idea. They could not approach the stone pagoda rashly. They needed to observe for a while. Only after observing the situation could they consider entering the stone pagoda. Lin Feng saw Lu Ruoxin not far away. This woman was as beautiful as always. She stood in the void like a fairy from the 9 heavens, attracting the attention of countless people. Lu Ruoxin's divine sense was very powerful. She also saw Lin Feng. It was just that both parties treated each other as strangers. Maybe I underestimated this Lu Ruoxin. She hid her strength too well. Lin Feng could not help but take a deep breath. He had never been able to see through Lu Ruoxin. This woman was hiding many secrets. Moreover, this woman hid her strength very well. Lin Feng discovered that he and Lu Ruoxin were exploring the danger zone together. Lu Ruoxin seemed to have been hiding her strength all this time. This was because even when she was in danger, she did not display her true strength. She only displayed a very limited portion of her strength. The portion of strength that Lu Ruoxin displayed was obviously not her peak strength. Moreover, the incomparably arrogant Tian Wuya did not even dare to make things difficult for Lu Ruoxin after recognizing her. This was enough to show how powerful the force behind Lu Ruoxin was. A force that could make Tian Wuya feel apprehensive must not be very powerful. Be it in terms of mental state or talent, Tian Wuya seemed to be far behind Lu Ruoxin. If the forces behind them were about the same, then there was no reason for Lu Ruoxin to be inferior to Tian Wuya. This woman is really unfathomable. However, I have to be wary of her as much as possible. Lin Feng could not help but mutter to himself. Since ancient times, many people had been careless because of their negligence. In the end, they suffered a calamity. Lin Feng did not want to become such a person. More and more cultivators arrived. There were about 200 to 300 martial emperors who had arrived. Lin Feng estimated that the Emperor Realm cultivators here were only a portion of the Emperor Realm cultivators who had entered the 9 Mysteries Great World. Many emperors were still searching for the descendants of the 9 Mysteries Realm Lord, wanting to snatch the supreme treasure from the supreme divine court. It was just that the descendants of the 9 Mysteries Realm Lord had concealed themselves too deeply. So many forces had almost turned the entire 9 mysterious world upside down, but they still couldn't find the descendant of the 9 mysterious world. They didn't know where the descendant of the 9 mysterious world was hiding. However, it was only a matter of time before the descendants of the 9 mysteries realm lord were found. After the arrival of the great emperors, some terrifying beings from the 9 profound fallen immortal domain also appeared. For example, there was a terrifying creature that had a total of 36 heads. The 36 heads looked like crocodile heads, but they also looked like dragon heads. They were ferocious and terrifying. The body of the terrifying creature was actually that of a giant lizard. There was also a terrifying creature with 12 pairs of wings. It looked like an eagle-type creature, but it had 9 eyes. The creatures of the 9 profound fallen immortal domain looked very strange. Although their appearances were strange, the creatures of the 9 profound fallen immortal domain were incomparably powerful. Every single one of them exuded a suffocating aura. About 30 terrifying creatures appeared one after another. Many of the great emperor's expressions turned grave. The cultivation of the creatures of the 9 profound fallen immortal domain was unfathomable. The appearance of a few of them was already heaven-defying. But now, more than 30 of them had appeared. Many great emperors couldn't help but feel threatened. Of course, after all, the foreign cultivators had the absolute advantage in numbers. Therefore, this made them feel a little more at ease. It didn't take long for a gloomy aura to permeate the area. Everyone's face couldn't help but reveal a solemn expression when they sensed the gloomy aura. In the distance, a white light appeared. It's that existence. Lin Feng couldn't help but gasp. Lin Feng still didn't know what kind of beast that white light was. However, Lin Feng had seen that white light devour a few great emperors before. Those great emperors didn't even react. Lin Feng and Lu Ruoxin were also attacked by that white light. At one point, they almost died under the white light's attack. Fortunately, they managed to neutralize the white light's attack. Now, that terrifying creature was finally about to appear. Lin Feng was also very curious about what that terrifying creature was. How could it be so powerful? Soon, the white light flew over. Then, the white light turned into a huge python. The python was 1,000 meters long. It was completely white. When it stood up, it was as huge as a mountain. When the white snake appeared, the surrounding beasts all bowed to the white snake. The kingdom of the forbidden land. Lin Feng's facial expression was grave and solemn. Although the creatures in the Jiuxian fallen immortal domain were powerful, if they fought on their own, the threat would be much smaller. After all, the 200 to 300 great emperors who came from outside were not to be trifled with. However, if the creatures in the Jiuxian fallen immortal domain had a king to lead them, that was a completely different concept. A king-level beast was able to unite all the powerful creatures. The threat of those creatures would greatly increase. He had to pay attention to this. The white python is a variant of the snake species. Be careful. If you see something wrong, immediately leave this place. At this moment, the demon lord suddenly said. Lin Feng didn't doubt the demon lord's words. Moreover, he also felt that this white snake was a little too powerful. Therefore, Lin Feng had already planned to leave this place at any time. Stone Tower. Is it a treasure passed down from the Stone Age? At this moment, an expert walked over from afar. It was an expert shrouded in holy light. His aura was extremely powerful. Great Emperor. That expert. It was actually a great Emperor-level expert. An expert of this level was absolutely terrifying. In the entire Starry Sky world, they were all top-notch experts. This is interesting. With the appearance of a great Emperor-level expert, the foreign cultivators seemed to have more confidence. Lin Feng couldn't help but think, humph. The white snake looked at the great Emperor-level expert and couldn't help but snort coldly. Then, Chapter 3422. No one would have thought that the white snake would take the initiative to attack the sage emperor. The tail that was as huge as a mountain whipped down. The void shattered. The strength of the white snake was definitely at a level that could shock people. Now, the white snake displayed its powerful combat strength. It swept its thick tail gently. The void collapsed. It was really shocking. The sage emperor was not to be underestimated. To be able to cultivate to his level, he was naturally an unparalleled existence. Facing the white snake's attack, the sage emperor gently waved his hands in front of him. All of a sudden, a vast star field appeared. The battle prowess displayed by this saint emperor was extremely shocking. When the white snake's tail slammed into the star domain condensed by the saint emperor level expert, the saint emperor level expert's star domain was completely destroyed. The white snake and the saint emperor were evenly matched, and neither was able to gain the upper hand. Is this the cultivation of a sage emperor? It's only a... The white snake could not help but sneer. It did not take the sage emperor seriously at all. I'm rather disappointed in your cultivation, the sage emperor retorted. He naturally did not want to lose to the white snake in a battle of words. His words were full of contempt for the white snake. The white snake looked at the sage emperor with a mocking gaze. It did not continue to argue with the sage emperor. However, the white snake did not continue to attack the sage emperor. Naturally, the sage emperor cultivator didn't attack the white snake. If he could avoid fighting the white snake, he would avoid it. The white snake was too terrifying. There was no benefit in fighting with the white snake. He might even encounter danger. Therefore, it was best for both sides to be at peace. At this moment, a terrifying aura spread out from the stone tower. The densely packed runes on the stone tower began to distort. After seeing those distorted runes, Lin Feng could not help but be shocked. The runes were distorted, and the stone tower was moving. Did this mean that the stone tower was about to open? Thinking of this, Lin Feng looked at the door on the first floor of the stone tower without blinking. It was a simple and unadorned stone door. The simple and unadorned stone door exuded an ancient aura. That ancient aura was suffocating. Many people could not withstand the pressure from the stone tower and had to quickly retreat. They used this to dissolve the powerful pressure from the stone tower. The stone tower should be opening. The stone tower is so extraordinary. What is inside? Who knows? But such an extraordinary stone tower must have an extremely heaven-defying treasure inside, right? Many cultivators began to discuss. Usually, there were few opportunities that could attract so many experts. However, a treasure like the stone tower was an exception. Everyone was waiting for the stone tower to open. Time continued to pass. No one knew how much time had passed. Finally, the door of the stone tower began to creak. It seemed like the door was about to open. After hearing the sounds of friction, Zhang Xian's eyes lit up. Everyone's spirits couldn't help but tremble. Whoosh! Even the white snake turned into a human form. The white snake transformed into a white-robed woman. Although it was a demon, but the woman did not have any demon chi. Instead, she looked very otherworldly. Her body was filled with immortal chi. Creak, creak. The stone door continued to make loud creaking sounds. Finally, the stone door gradually opened. The stone tower was extremely strange because the stone door opened on its own. Over the years, Lin Feng had been to many places and seen all kinds of opportunities. This was the first time he had seen the stone door open on its own. Lin Feng was extremely surprised. However, Lin Feng became more cautious. The stone door opened on its own, and there was an additional strange aura. He had to be more careful. Otherwise, he might suffer because of his carelessness. In the distance, when Tian Wuya saw Lin Feng, his eyes were filled with killing intent. Tian Wuya quickly flew toward Lin Feng. He seemed to want to kill Lin Feng. However, at this moment, the stone door opened. Many cultivators hurriedly rushed into the stone tower. "You're lucky. I'll take your life later." Tian Wuya looked at Lin Feng coldly and said in an extremely cold voice. Then, Tian Wuya abandoned Lin Feng and quickly flew toward the stone tower with a few subordinates. The fastest was the female cultivator that the white snake turned into. Then, it was the sage emperor-level expert. The terrifying creatures in the Jioshuan fallen immortal realm also rushed in. The foreign great emperors also entered the stone tower. Lin Feng followed a large number of cultivators into the stone tower. The first floor of the stone tower exuded an eerie and terrifying aura. On the first floor, there were a total of 99 stone pillars. There was a cultivator tied to each of the stone pillars. Those cultivators were already dead. They had completely turned into dried corpses. Their life source had been devoured by the stone pillars. These stone pillars were extremely strange and terrifying. Lin Feng had already understood the strangeness of these stone pillars from the murals. Now that he saw these stone pillars in person, Lin Feng felt that these stone pillars exuded a bone-chilling power. He came to the side of a stone pillar. Then, he carefully studied it. He immediately discovered that the runes drawn on this stone pillar were extremely strange. Lin Feng had never seen these runes before. When Lin Feng wanted to use his divine will to examine them, he felt a sharp pain in his head. Lin Feng quickly retracted his gaze. Only then did his complexion recover a little. The runes on these stone pillars are actually so strange. Lin Feng couldn't help but take a deep breath. Even with his attainments and formations, he couldn't study these runes on the stone pillars. If it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to study the runes on the stone pillars. There were already people walking toward the second floor. Everyone didn't find anything on the first floor. Thus, many cultivators walked toward the second floor. On the second floor of the stone pagoda, there were also stone pillars that stood one after another. However, there were only 81 stone pillars on the second floor. Compared to the first floor, there were much fewer stone pillars. There was also a dried corpse tied to each of the stone pillars on the second floor. It should be the same as the situation on the stone pillars on the first floor. These people were all living beings that had been sacrificed. However, on the second floor of the tower, there was a dao platform. A table was placed on top of the dao platform. There were 3 items on the table. The 3 items were surrounded by a cloud of black mist. Chapter 34-23. Lin Feng was surprised because the female cultivator and the Saint Emperor weren't on the second floor of the tower. They were on the second floor. They were on the second floor. They were the first to reach the second floor. They didn't collect the 3 items on the second floor. This caused everyone to be very surprised. Was it because the items on the second floor of the stone pagoda did not catch the eye of the female cultivator and the Holy Emperor? Or was there another reason? That was why the 2 terrifying existences didn't collect the items on the platform. Someone couldn't help but rush towards the Dao platform. But at that moment, the Dao platform vibrated, sending out waves of death. The death ripples were terrifyingly powerful. They went straight for the cultivator who wanted to collect the 3 treasures. The cultivator's expression was cold. He flicked his finger. A golden light streaked across the sky. Then, the cultivator took out a golden ball-like magic treasure. That golden ball-like magic treasure shot out a golden beam of light, and that golden beam of light quickly turned into a golden light shield. The golden light barrier enveloped the cultivator. That golden ball was an extremely extraordinary defensive magic treasure. Perhaps it was because he possessed such a powerful defensive magic treasure that the cultivator was extremely confident in himself. At that moment, the death ripples swept over. Clang! Along with the sound of a violent collision, there was a loud sound. The death ripples. They swept across the cultivator's defensive light barrier. Cracking sounds could be heard one after another. The cultivator's defensive light barrier began to crack after taking the brunt of the death ripples. It couldn't withstand the power of the death ripples at all. The situation was extremely bad. The Sage Emperor's expression changed abruptly. Only now did he realize how terrifying the death ripples were. The confidence he displayed before. Now it was all gone. The Sage Emperor wanted to retreat quickly, but it was too late. The death ripples' attack came in waves. Just as the first wave ended, the second wave was already brewing. Now, the second wave of the death ripples was so terrifying that it made people pale. It was much more powerful than the first wave. The second wave of the death ripples instantly slammed into the cultivator's defensive light barrier. There was a bang. The cultivator's defensive light barrier was instantly destroyed. The Emperor Realm cultivator tried to use his divine ability to neutralize the death ripples. The divine ability he used was an extremely powerful divine ability. It was called the 3000 Universes. But such a powerful divine ability still couldn't block the death ripples. The divine ability was instantly destroyed by the death ripples. Then, the death ripples slammed into the Sage Emperor's body. The Sage Emperor's body exploded. He died on the spot. Hiss! A series of gasps resounded throughout the second floor of the stone tower. A great Emperor-level expert was killed just like that. It was unbelievable. It seemed that it would not be easy to obtain the 3 items on the Dao platform. The second floor of the stone tower became extremely quiet for a moment. It was completely silent. Because a powerful Sage Emperor had just died, the surrounding cultivators didn't dare to attempt to obtain the 3 treasures. It seemed that it wasn't that the woman and the Saint Emperor didn't want to take the 3 treasures, but that it would take too much time and effort to do so. They were more willing to spend time and effort on the treasures above. Because the higher the tower went, the treasures that appeared would be even more extraordinary. I'll give it a try. At this time, a cultivator stepped forward. It was a thin cultivator. He seemed to only be a Sage Emperor. Because of this, he gave off a very ordinary feeling. The Sage Emperor who had just died was a peak Sage Emperor. In many people's eyes, this Sage Emperor cultivator taking the initiative to give it a try was no different from sending himself to death. Of course, there were also some who thought that since this Sage Emperor cultivator dared to try, it meant that he was hiding something powerful. Perhaps this person. He really had a way to break the death ripples and obtain the 3 treasures. Many people's hearts were filled with killing intent. If this cultivator failed, then so be it. But if he succeeded, when the time came, he would surely kill off the cultivator and snatch away the 3 treasures that the cultivator had obtained. Cultivators with such thoughts, not a few. This Sage Emperor cultivator approached the Dao platform step by step. Then, waves of death rippled out from the Dao platform once again. This time, however, The ripples of death that spread out were even stronger than the ripples of death that had spread out when he killed the first cultivator. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. He felt that there was something wrong with this sage emperor cultivator. But Lin Feng couldn't tell what was wrong. He decided to carefully observe this sage emperor cultivator's performance when faced with the death ripples. The death ripples are even stronger. I'm afraid this guy is dead for sure, some cultivators said. They didn't think that a sage emperor cultivator could resist the death ripples. Even if he had a powerful defensive treasure, he shouldn't be able to. That was because the cultivator who was killed earlier had a powerful defensive treasure, but it still wasn't able to resist the death ripples. This was enough to explain a lot of things. Of course, some cultivators thought that a miracle might happen. But at that moment, the death ripples slammed into the God Emperor cultivator. Something shocking happened. When the death ripples landed on the God Emperor level cultivator, the God Emperor level cultivator was shocked. The death ripples were actually devoured by the God Emperor level cultivator. This was too inconceivable. When everyone saw this, they looked as if they'd seen a ghost. This God Emperor realm cultivator in front of him actually had the ability to devour the death ripples. This was truly unimaginable. All the death ripples were devoured by the sage emperor cultivator. He approached the Dao platform step by step. He's actually going to succeed. One cultivator after another cried out in surprise. In the end, the sage emperor cultivator arrived in front of the death Dao platform. With a wave of his sleeve, he collected the 3 treasures. The surrounding cultivators were filled with killing intent. They were already prepared to attack the sage emperor cultivator. Chapter 34-24. Hand over the 3 treasures, and we might spare your life. But if you don't, you'll definitely die today, an expert said coldly. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Although the others did not say anything, their intentions were clear. If this person had obediently cooperated with everyone and handed over the 3 treasures he had just obtained, he might have been able to avoid death. If he did not cooperate, he would definitely die. The God Emperor looked at the surrounding cultivators mockingly and said with a cold smile, "I advise you all to stay away from me, because if we really fight later, it's hard to say how many of you will die in the end." The cultivator's eyes flashed coldly, as if he was extremely confident in his methods. Someone sneered. Disdain was written all over their faces, because in the eyes of the crowd, this cultivator could not even withstand a single blow. He was only in God Emperor. Could it be that he could still stir up some waves? But there were also people who were very concerned about this cultivator's words. Since a God Emperor level cultivator dared to say such words, he must have some hidden methods. If they were not careful, something unexpected might happen. At that time, for some people, such an unforeseen event could be fatal. Perhaps some people would die tragically in such a situation. Some of the cultivators with relatively weaker cultivation bases. Some of the more cautious cultivators retreated, distancing themselves from the center of the battle. They chose to watch the show from afar. Lin Feng did the same. Lin Feng had the feeling that there was something strange about that man. Even though Lin Feng didn't know what was strange about him, he had the feeling that something was wrong. Naturally, he had to pay more attention to him. Ant-like thing, we asked you to hand over the treasures, but you didn't. Now, you can only hand over your life. At this moment, a cultivator sneered, his eyes flashing with cold killing intent. This was a peak immortal emperor expert. He took the initiative to attack the God Emperor cultivator. At this moment, the rest of the cultivators also started attacking the God Emperor level cultivator. Boom, boom, boom. It was accompanied by a terrifying aura that permeated the air. One by one, the God Emperors attacked. So many God Emperor realm cultivators acted together because they wanted to instantly kill that God Emperor realm cultivator and then snatch the treasures on his body. Since you all want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. The God Emperor cultivator's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. But the cultivators who attacked did not care about the God Emperor cultivator's words at all. He was merely a God Emperor level cultivator. What could he possibly do? He was underestimating them too much. Facing the attacks of a group of cultivators. This god emperor level cultivator made his move. He waved his hands lightly. Instantly, an earth-shattering wave of energy surged out from the body of this god emperor. In the next moment, death ripples appeared one after another. Waves of waves of waves, and they attacked the surrounding cultivators. Waves of death. Quickly, many people couldn't help but cry out in horror. The death ripples attack had been unleashed by the Tao platform, so everyone had seen how terrifying the death ripples were. Now, that god emperor level cultivator actually unleashed death ripples as well. How could the surrounding cultivators not be shocked? They did not even know how the god emperor cultivator attacked with waves of death. But it was too late for those cultivators to retreat. The waves of death instantly killed many of the cultivators' divine abilities. Then, it attacked those cultivators. Bang, bang, bang. When the waves of death swept across those cultivators, one by one, the cultivators' bodies exploded. They died on the spot. Shock, disbelief. Everyone's face was filled with astonishment. How could this god emperor cultivator attack with waves of death from the god emperor cultivator? Everyone was puzzled. Just now, when the death ripples from the platform hit him, they were all absorbed by his body. Now, he's using death ripples to attack everyone. Could it be that the death ripples he's using are the same ones he absorbed not long ago? Lin Feng suddenly thought of a possibility. After thinking of this, Lin Feng was astonished as well. What kind of ability was this? Absorbing other attacks and then releasing other attacks? Wouldn't such an ability make this cultivator invincible? Ah, screams of agony could be heard. The great emperors who were attacking this god emperor cultivator continued to suffer. Soon, more than 10 great emperors were killed by the waves of death from the god emperor cultivator. Some other great emperors were seriously injured. However, those people successfully avoided the attack of the death ripples. Of course, some stronger cultivators were not injured and managed to avoid the waves of death. Regardless of whether they were injured or not, the great emperor's expressions were ugly. A group of experts besieging a god emperor cultivator actually ended up in such a state. This made many people feel as if they had lost all face. However, the god emperor realm cultivator's methods were too strange. Therefore, those cultivators did not dare to attack again. I told you not to provoke me, but you didn't listen. Who can you blame for your death? The god emperor cultivator had his hands behind his back, his expression cold. Now, he looked at everyone around him. His arrogant attitude made many people want to kill him. The all-energy absorption body. This person should be the legendary all-energy absorption body. At this moment, the demon lord's voice rang out. The all-energy absorption body? What kind of physique is this? Lin Feng was very surprised. This was the first time he had heard of such a physique. The demon lord said, this physique is said to be able to devour all attacks. Then, it can store other people's attacks in its own body and release them when the battle starts. After hearing the demon lord's words, Lin Feng could not help but take a deep breath. Just as he had guessed, this cultivator's ability was really heaven-defying. Therefore, although this cultivator was only in the God Emperor realm, but his combat strength could not be judged by his realm. There are so many strange people. Lin Feng could not help but mutter to himself. The opportunity on the second level of the stone pagoda was obtained by the skinny cultivator. The others did not dare to attack the skinny cultivator. Therefore, many cultivators walked toward the third level of the stone pagoda. Lin Feng did not stay on the second level of the stone pagoda. Chapter 34-25. When he arrived at the third floor of the stone pagoda, Lin Feng discovered that the woman transformed from the white snake and the holy emperor-level cultivator were also here. If the two of them were here, then, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens to snatch the opportunity from their hands. Of course, anything was possible. Anything that would happen later might be very possible. The third floor of the stone pagoda was similar to the first two floors. However, there were only 72 stone pillars in this floor of the stone pagoda. There was still a dried corpse tied to each of the stone pillars. In the depths of this floor of the stone pagoda, there was a black energy ball floating. That black energy ball emitted waves of cold and terrifying aura. That aura. Many people couldn't help but feel a sense of solemnity. What kind of treasure is in the energy ball? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. He felt that the thing in the energy ball was definitely extraordinary. However, as for what it was exactly, it was still hard to say. The woman transformed from the white snake, and the Holy Emperor-level cultivator didn't rashly make a move. From this, it could be seen, that energy ball was so extraordinary. Many cultivators stared at the energy ball without blinking. They wanted to explore the secret within. However, the two terrifying existences were still here. They didn't make a move. The rest of the people were even more afraid to make a move. Everyone was waiting for the two terrifying creatures to make a move. Since you don't want to make a move, then let me take this treasure, the Holy Emperor-level cultivator said. As soon as he finished speaking, he stepped toward the black energy ball floating in midair. The woman transformed from the white snake had an indifferent expression. She didn't express any opinion, as if she was an outsider. She just wanted to watch the show and didn't want to participate. Powerful magic power surged out of the Holy Emperor-level cultivator's body. That powerful dermic power heavily surrounded his body. Buzz. At this moment, the black energy ball attacked the Holy Emperor-level cultivator. Streaks of black gas flew out. A stream of black gas. It was enough to collapse a piece of void. Not to mention there were so many streams of black gas. Every single strand of gas exuded a power that made people shudder. It instantly arrived beside the Holy Emperor-level cultivator. Humph! The Saint Emperor coldly snorted. He threw punch after punch at the black gas. Bang, bang, bang. Sounds of violent collisions could be heard. The black gas was blasted away by the Sage Emperor. That Sage Emperor-level cultivator was indeed very powerful. His combat strength was shocking. The black energy ball's attack was unable to harm the Sage Emperor cultivator. The Sage Emperor cultivator continued to approach the distorted black ball of energy. Is that black ball of energy going to be collected by that Saint Emperor? 7-floored stone pagoda. The higher I go, the more valuable the treasures should be. I wonder what is in the black energy ball. It must be an extremely heaven-defying treasure. Unfortunately, we don't have the strength to seize this treasure. The surrounding cultivators could not help but discuss among themselves. At this moment, the Saint Emperor had already arrived beside the black ball of energy. The Saint Emperor cultivator opened his hand and grabbed at the black ball of energy. Just as the Saint Emperor was about to grab hold of the treasure, the Saint Emperor suddenly stopped. But at this moment, a thick black pillar of light surged out of the black ball of energy. The black pillar of light shot toward the Saint Emperor cultivator. The Saint Emperor cultivator did not expect this at all and could not help but be shocked. However, the Saint Emperor cultivator reacted extremely quickly. Facing the attack of the black pillar of light, the Saint Emperor cultivator threw a punch. Bang! A muffled sound of collision rang out. The Saint Emperor cultivator's fist collided with the black pillar of light. The Saint Emperor cultivator was immediately sent flying by the black pillar of light. Everyone was shocked. The power of that black beam of light was simply too powerful. It was truly shocking. After the black ball of energy sent the Saint Emperor cultivator flying, it quickly flew away like lightning. But at this moment, the woman transformed from the white snake attacked. The woman transformed from the white snake sent out 3 palm strikes in a row. The 3 palm strikes overlapped and instantly blasted toward the black ball of energy. The black ball of energy was not to be outdone. It was as if it had its own spiritual consciousness. Facing the attack of the woman transformed from the white snake, the black ball of energy once again shot out a terrifying pillar of light. The pillar of light instantly arrived in front of the woman transformed from the white snake. However, the powerful black pillar of light was instantly destroyed by the woman transformed from the white snake. The strength of the woman transformed from the white snake was truly unimaginable. One had to know that the pillar of light shot out by the black ball of energy had sent the Saint Emperor cultivator flying before. But this time, the same attack was destroyed by the woman transformed from the white snake. Clearly, the woman transformed from the white snake had concealed her strength before. Suppress. The woman turned her right hand and instantly, the image of a mountain condensed in the void. It was a celestial mountain. It emitted a shocking fluctuation. It was as if it could suppress the world. The celestial mountain descended from the sky. It went straight for the black ball of energy. It was about to suppress the black ball of energy. The black ball of energy disappeared into thin air and dodged the attack of the woman transformed from the white snake. The next moment, the black ball of energy directly appeared at the stairs leading to the fourth floor of the stone tower. The black ball of energy quickly rushed toward the fourth floor of the stone tower. You think you can escape? The woman transformed from the white snake sneered and quickly rushed toward the fourth floor of the stone tower. However, right at this moment, a terrifying thing happened. An aura that made one's soul tremble surged out from the fourth floor of the stone tower. Then, along with a violent bang, there was a violent collision sound. The woman transformed from the white snake suffered a calamity. Her body flew out from the fourth floor of the stone tower. Then she landed on the third floor of the stone tower. What was unbelievable was that the woman transformed from the white snake actually spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone's eyes turned pale with shock. The powerful woman transformed from the white snake was actually injured. What kind of terrifying existence was on the fourth floor of the stone tower? Thud, thud, thud. Right at this moment, Chapter 34:26. Everyone's face couldn't help but reveal a dignified expression. Everyone's eyes turned to the staircase. Soon, a creature covered in black scales walked down from the fourth floor of the stone tower. The being covered in black scales was 3 meters tall. It looked extremely ferocious. Its head looked like a human, but not a human. It looked like an ape, but not an ape. No one knew what kind of creature it was. It was this terrifying creature that had injured the woman transformed from the white snake. The woman's cultivation was so strong, but she wasn't a match for this creature. No one knew how strong this creature was. As for the black energy ball, it hovered around the terrifying creature. The black energy ball emitted waves of violent fluctuations. The space around the black energy ball twisted violently. Despicable creatures! You dare to barge into the Forbidden Tower? Do you want to be buried with the Lord? The terrifying creature spoke in a sinister voice. The Lord he was talking about, Lin Feng guessed that it was most likely the owner of this stone tower. It was the terrifying expert who was buried here. Who is buried in this tower? The woman couldn't help but ask. She lived in the 9 profound fallen immortal region. He was the undisputed king of the 9 profound fallen immortal realm. However, even though she didn't know much about this stone tower. Do you think you have the right to know? The terrifying creature couldn't help but mock. Even the woman who was as strong as the white snake wasn't taken seriously by this terrifying creature. He had no idea what level of combat power this terrifying creature possessed. Humph! The woman who was transformed from the white snake snorted coldly. Although she was no match for the terrifying monster, she was still able to defeat it. However, she was facing the terrifying creature. She wasn't afraid. The king of the Forbidden Zone still had some powerful techniques that he hadn't used yet. If he used them, the woman who was transformed from the white snake believed that she was not much weaker than this terrifying monster. The terrifying monster didn't pay any attention to the woman. At this moment, the terrifying monster's lips started to squirm. He seemed to be chanting an incantation. Clattering sounds could be heard. It was the sound of chains clashing. Look at the chains on the stone pillars. A cultivator pointed at the stone pillars and said, the chains on each of the stone pillars seemed to have come to life. The chains actually moved of their own accord. Soon, the chains on the stone pillars automatically opened. Swish, swish. Next, the mummified corpses opened their eyes one after another. Those were pairs of sinister and terrifying eyes, emitting a sinister light. Every gaze was filled with power that made one's heart palpitate. Those dried corpses had all come back to life. The mummified corpses pounced on the cultivators closest to them. Not good. Quickly leave this place. A cultivator said in a deep voice. The stone pagoda was too terrifying. No matter what other treasures were up there. Now, no one dared to have any extravagant hopes. Because Those treasures were fated to have no fate with them, to be able to get out of the stone tower without a hitch. This was already an extremely difficult task. Magic treasures were summoned one after another. Next, those magic treasures emitted a terrifying power that made one's heart palpitate. One by one, the magic treasures charged towards the resurrected corpses. In an instant, clanging sounds could be heard incessantly. The corpses' bodies were simply too strong. They were simply unbreakable. Many cultivators couldn't help but turn pale with fright. And those dried corpses suddenly exploded, instantly charging in front of the cultivators. Then, they began to attack those cultivators. Their sharp claws clawed at the cultivators' chests. Poochie, poochie, poochie. Tearing sounds could be heard incessantly. Many cultivators' chests were directly pierced, and their hearts were directly dug out by the dried corpses. There were also some cultivators who quickly rushed towards the second level of the stone pagoda. However, the dried corpses on the second level of the stone pagoda had also come back to life. After seeing the cultivators rushing down, the dried corpses on the second level began to besiege those cultivators. Those cultivators had finally reached the second level of the stone pagoda from the third level of the stone pagoda, and then they were attacked by those powerful dried corpses. They were extremely depressed. However, they had no choice but to fight those dried corpses to find a chance to escape. Both of you, go to hell. The terrifying monster directly locked onto the female cultivator, transformed from the white snake and the sage emperor expert. The female cultivator transformed from the white snake and the sage emperor expert joined forces to fight that terrifying monster. And that energy ball also joined the battle, constantly sweeping out terrifying black light pillars. The power of the black pillar of light was extremely powerful. One by one, the cultivators struck by the black pillar of light were sent flying. Some cultivators were even seriously injured by the black light pillars. In such a chaotic battle, there was almost no chance to use magic. However, such a battle was also Lin Feng's favorite. In such a battle, a strong body and powerful magic treasures could play an extremely important role. Not only did Lin Feng have powerful magic treasures, but his body was also incomparably terrifying. Coupled with the power of the dragon elephant arm by 6 times, he was simply invincible. He held the black dragon sword in his hand, and with the power of the dragon elephant arm by 6 times, he swung the black dragon sword at the dried corpses. The magic treasures of the surrounding cultivators were unable to cause any damage to the dried corpses. However, when Lin Feng's black dragon sword struck those dried corpses, they were directly cut in half by the black dragon sword. Lin Feng was simply an invincible existence. He killed his way from the third level of the stone tower to the second level. Some cultivators followed behind Lin Feng and also rushed to the second level of the stone tower. The dried corpses on the second level of the stone tower pounced at Lin Feng. Lin Feng displayed his invincible might. After killing more than 10 dried corpses, he quickly arrived at the first level of the stone tower. Then, the dried corpses on the first level of the stone tower also surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng continued to use the dragon elephant arm by 6 times to swing the black dragon sword at the corpses that surrounded him. A large number of dried corpses died under the black dragon sword. Seeing that Lin Feng was about to rush out of the stone tower, but at this moment, the black energy ball chased after him. It was unknown what that black energy ball was. It seemed to have its own intelligence. Buzz. At this moment, a violent wave surged out. The black energy ball. It directly shot out a terrifying black light pillar. Chapter 34:27. Lin Feng had already seen how powerful the black beam of light was. At that moment, the black beam of light was moving towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng sensed an extremely dangerous qi. It was an aura of death. Lin Feng hated that kind of aura. As the black beam of light approached, it became denser and denser. When the black beam of light was about to hit him, swoosh, there was a flash of light. Lin Feng disappeared without a trace. At this critical moment, Lin Feng used the heaven patching technique to dodge the attack of the black beam of light. The next moment, Lin Feng came to the side of the black ball of light. Then, He slashed at the black ball of light with his sword. Clang! A loud sound was heard. Lin Feng's sword. It was as if he had slashed at a huge bell. After the black ball of light was hit by Lin Feng's sword, its aura became extremely chaotic. The surrounding void directly collapsed. Lin Feng's sword was too powerful. Come out, heaven-swallowing jar. Lin Feng waved his hand, and the heaven-swallowing jar flew out quickly. After the heaven-swallowing jar was taken out, it surged with an extremely powerful devouring power. The powerful devouring power enveloped the black ball of light. The black ball of light was now in a state of confusion after being hit by Lin Feng's sword. Therefore, when faced with the heaven-swallowing jar's devouring power, it did not resist much. Then, it was swallowed by the heaven-swallowing jar. Haha, this treasure is mine. Lin Feng's face was filled with ecstasy. He quickly used the 8 God-forbidding seals to seal the treasure to prevent it from struggling violently after it regained its consciousness. After taking the treasure, Lin Feng rushed out of the stone tower. Some cultivators followed behind Lin Feng and rushed out of the stone tower. However, most of the cultivators were still trapped in the stone tower and were fighting a life-and-death battle. After rushing out, Lin Feng quickly rushed into the distance. The stone tower was too dangerous. He had to leave quickly. Otherwise, there might be other unforeseen events. As for the cultivators in the stone pagoda, they could only pray for the best. After leaving the stone tower, Lin Feng quickly rushed out of the 9 profound fallen immortal domain. He had already obtained enough benefits in the 9 profound fallen immortal realm. Lin Feng wanted to find a place to cultivate the 100 types of 3,000 great Daos that he had obtained. At the same time, Lin Feng wanted to carefully study what kind of treasure was inside the black energy ball. Look, someone's coming out. When Lin Feng came out of the 9 Xian fallen celestial region, some people were astonished. There were many cultivators gathered outside the 9 profound fallen immortal domain. Most of them had yet to reach the Emperor realm, so they didn't dare to enter the 9 profound fallen immortal domain. These cultivators should be glad that they haven't broken through to the Emperor realm yet, because if they broke through to the Emperor realm, they would definitely enter the 9 profound fallen immortal domain. Perhaps. Now, he had already died in the stone tower. That guy is so young. Has he already become a great emperor at such a young age? Someone couldn't help but sigh. He seems to be the first cultivator to rush out of the 9 profound fallen immortal domain. I wonder what's the situation inside the 9 profound fallen immortal domain? Another cultivator asked. He wanted to know more about the situation inside the 9 profound fallen immortal domain. Lin Feng didn't stop outside the 9 profound fallen immortal domain. No one dared to cause trouble for him. After leaving the 9 profound fallen immortal domain, Lin Feng found a secluded cave in the middle of the forest. Then, he set up a concealment restriction and completely sealed off the cave. Lin Feng sat down on the ground and fell on his back, panting heavily. He had been in a tense state before this. Now, he could finally heave a sigh of relief. After resting for a while, Lin Feng sat up. Then, he took out the sealed item. That thing was still shrouded in the black energy ball. As soon as Lin Feng took it out, the item started cursing. Brat, do you know who I am? How dare you suppress me? You must have eaten a bear's heart or a leopard's guts. I'll give you a chance to release me now. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. When Lin Feng heard the words coming from the black energy ball, he couldn't help but roll his eyes. This guy was really asking for a beating. He kept calling himself this lord. He didn't seem like a prisoner at all. Lin Feng couldn't help but say fiercely. Could it be that you've forgotten your current situation? Do you think I won't melt you with my heavenly fire? You dare? The guy continued to clamor. Lin Feng didn't say anything. He took out the powerful heavenly fire, the god-devouring black flame. The god-devouring black flame burned fiercely. It began to burn the treasure inside the black energy ball. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The black energy ball ignited. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Ah, you actually dared to burn me. You're seeking your own death. Let me tell you, you're dead meat. No one in this world can save you. The existence inside the black energy ball continued to clamor. It didn't seem to care about Lin Feng at all. Even Lin Feng's heavenly fire didn't scare this guy. The heavenly fire burned the black energy ball into nothingness. At this moment, he finally got a clear look at the item that had been roaring nonstop just now. It was actually a piece of black demonic iron. The demonic iron was covered in mysterious runes. The demonic iron emitted a terrifying aura that made one's hair stand on end. However, the demonic iron had been sealed by Lin Feng, so it couldn't display its full strength. Lin Feng's god-devouring black flame enveloped the demonic iron and burned it repeatedly. The demonic iron screamed as it was burned. However, it showed no signs of melting. Lin Feng was shocked. What kind of material was this demonic iron? It was actually able to resist the burning of the god-devouring black flame. It was truly inconceivable. Stop. We can make peace. The demonic iron screamed as it screamed. Although the demonic iron hadn't been melted by the heavenly fire, it was on the verge of collapse under the constant burning of the god-devouring black flame. The main reason was that the burning of the god-devouring black flame was too painful for the demonic iron. You think you can make peace just because you want to? Lin Feng sneered. Then what do you want? The demonic iron asked in exasperation. Simple. Just acknowledge me as your master. Lin Feng said. What? You want me to acknowledge you as my master? Brat, are you dreaming? The demonic iron roared furiously. Lin Feng seemed to have crossed the demonic iron's bottom line by asking him to acknowledge him as his master. What? You don't want to? I forgot to tell you that I have 5 types of heavenly fire. Since one type can't melt you, can't you melt if I burn you repeatedly with 5 types of heavenly fire? Lin Feng sneered and waved his hand. The other 4 types of heavenly fire flew out as well. Chapter 34:28. The god-devouring black flame was unable to melt Emotai. However, the pain was enough to make Emotai hover between life and death. Now, Lin Feng summoned 5 types of heavenly fire. Emotai was almost scared to death. Even if he could withstand the attacks of the 5 types of heavenly fire, he would still be in so much pain that he wished he was dead. Just the thought of it was enough to make one's hair stand on end. Lin Feng looked at Emotai with a faint smile and said, Do you think you can withstand the melting of the 5 types of heavenly fire? Emotai said, Do you really want to make things so ruthless? Lin Feng sneered and said, I gave you a chance just now, but you didn't cherish it. Who said I didn't cherish it? I was just joking with you. Do you have a sense of humor? A person must have a sense of humor. Emotai shouted, Are you human? You're just a piece of iron. Lin Feng curled his lips and said, Emotai said fiercely, Even if you're not human, you must have a sense of humor to make iron. Lin Feng said, Fine. In that case, I'll give you one more chance. If you acknowledge me as your master now, I'll spare you. Emotai was naturally unwilling to acknowledge Lin Feng as his master, but he had no other choice. Apart from acknowledging Lin Feng as his master, he really couldn't think of any other way to escape this danger. God damn it! Why did I have to meet a freak like you? Emotai couldn't help but shout gloomily. Lin Feng controlled the heavenly fire. Moreover, he controlled 5 types of heavenly fire, which perfectly countered Emotai. This made Emotai extremely depressed. It seemed that the only choice left was to submit to Lin Feng. Emotai was currently venting the depression in his heart. Lin Feng was patiently waiting for Emotai to acknowledge him as his master. I can acknowledge you as my master. However, we have to set a time limit. Emotai said, What? You're actually talking about conditions with me? You don't seem to have the consciousness of being a prisoner. Lin Feng curled his lips and said, Of course I have the consciousness. However, we still have to talk about the conditions. Emotai was obviously a thick-skinned person. He spoke without blushing or skipping a beat. Lin Feng rolled his eyes and said, All right, 1,000 years then. Serve me for 1,000 years, and I'll give you your freedom. After hearing this, Emotai was secretly delighted. Originally, it thought that Lin Feng would set a time limit of many years. Who would have thought that it would only be a mere 1,000 years? 1,000 years might seem like a long time, but for an existence at the level of magic iron, it was like a snap of a finger. Emotai even wondered if Lin Feng was an idiot. He actually only requested for it to serve for 1,000 years. Magic iron thought this way mainly because it did not understand Lin Feng. There were so many people who followed Lin Feng. At first, there were also some who were unwilling, but it didn't take long for them to willingly work for Lin Feng. For example, the 2 ghost emperors, Du Zhu, and the others. Therefore, this time limit didn't need to be set for too long. Lin Feng believed that these subordinates who had no choice but to follow him for various reasons. Soon, they would be conquered by his charisma. Then, they would be loyal to him. Naturally, Emotai was no exception. All right, then 1,000 years. Emotai said. Then, Lin Feng stretched out his right hand and gently tapped Emotai. One rune after another poured into Emotai. Emotai did not resist. He allowed those runes to pour into his body. Within 1,000 years, Emotai had to be loyal. If he had second thoughts, Lin Feng could sense it through the runes. When the time came, with a thought, Lin Feng could rely on those runes to kill Emotai. After the runes were completely imprinted on Emotai's body, Lin Feng removed the seal on Emotai's body. He said with a smile, "Soon, you will find that following me will be the best decision you have made in your life." Hearing this, Emotai couldn't help but curl his lips. He didn't comment on Lin Feng's words. Lin Feng knew that Emotai wouldn't believe him just based on what he said. As time passed, Lin Feng believed that Emotai would believe what he said now. "Could it be that your true body is this piece of Emotai?" Lin Feng asked. Emotai said, "You must not underestimate this piece of Emotai. This kind of Emotai is called supreme Emotai. It is a material even rarer than chaos stones. Over the countless years, there have not been many pieces of such Emotai." Supreme Emotai? Lin Feng was surprised. This was the first time he had heard of such a material. Of course, Emotai's cultivation was indeed extraordinary. Previously, if it wasn't for the fact that he had activated the Black Dragon Sword with 6 times the strength of the Dragon Elephant Arm, causing Emotai to enter a short period of dizziness. Lin Feng knew, with his cultivation, it was impossible for him to suppress Emotai. What's the origin of that stone tower? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. He was very curious about that stone tower. Emotai said, "I'm not very sure either. Previously, I had been in a deep sleep. I only woke up when you people entered the stone tower. I remember that the place I was sleeping in was the battlefield of the gods, but when I woke up, I appeared in the stone tower. I was very puzzled." However, the 4th level of the stone tower is actually guarded by that terrifying monster. From this, you can see how terrifying the master of that stone tower is. Emotai didn't know the origin of the stone tower, which disappointed Lin Feng. However, the fact that Emotai had been in a deep sleep in the battlefield of the gods had piqued Lin Feng's interest. "The battlefield of the gods that you were in a deep sleep in. Which battlefield of the gods is it?" Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. Since ancient times, countless battles of the gods had taken place. Hence, there were many battlefields of the gods. Of course, the most famous battlefield of the gods was the ruins of the great battle before the end of the Xiantian life form's rule. The battlefield of the gods I'm talking about is the battlefield of the gods left behind from the great battle that almost led to the extinction of the Xiantian life forms. Emotai said. Hearing this, Lin Feng was shocked. It was actually the battlefield of the gods. The gods' token Lin Feng had obtained had something to do with this battlefield of the gods. In the past, could it be that you also participated in the War of the Gods? Lin Feng couldn't help but look at Emotai in shock. Of course. Don't be fooled by how much my cultivation has dropped. Thinking back to the past, I was still an unparalleled existence. When I think back to that battle, the blood in my body feels like it's going to burn. Emotai began to boast. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.